Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're listening from around the world or watching from around the world on the Eastern Caribbean. This is a very special edition of Make We Talk this Tuesday evening. We're going to speak about how can we control Jamaica's crime pandemic and, well, how can we control Jamaica's crime and corruption pandemic. With me, I have Mr. Wilfred Rattigan, attorney at law, former FBI agent, and Mr. Herb. What is your full name, sir?
Herb Nelson.
Herb Nelson.
Yes.
And I also have with me Mr. Marcel Clark, chairman of the Crime Prevention Unit in St. Thomas. Am I pronouncing your name correctly, sir?
Marcel Clark.
Marcel Clark, yes. Mr. Marcel Clark. Gentlemen, welcome to Make We Talk this evening. There's so much things happening in Jamaica that we need to discuss and figure out how can we get the powers maybe to do something about it, to solve the situation, to solve what is going on in our country. I'll start with former FBI agent, attorney at law, Mr. Rattigan. If you were the commissioner of police or the minister of national security, what would you do differently from the current minister or the current commissioner?
In one word, everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I say everything because you start with the structure, you start with the mission, you start with training, you start with recruitment, you start with performance, the whole thing. Because look, you're using a construct that came into being back in the 1870s. And over the years, decades, centuries, they've tinkered with it around the edges, but they really haven't gotten to the meat of the matter, so to speak. And so the issues that existed in the main back in the 1960s, 70s, and I'm talking about corruption and lack of training and the things that spring from that. Mm-hmm. Those things are still with us today. And so what they have is you have some cosmetic changes. And then you have people making statements like that the Jamaica Constabulary Force is one of the best in the Americas. Nonsense, rubbish. But having said that, let me just say that they have some very, very qualified people within the force. It's just that they're operating within a system that doesn't allow them to do the things that they're supposed to do. And so therein we have a huge problem. I could go on and on, talk about the various things, but in general, I would say let's start with just changing the system.
Yes. Sir Herb, unmute your mic for me, sir.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Now, my background is as an intelligence analyst. I've worked in the U.S. intelligence community for over 15 years. I spent 24 years in the U.S. military as well. So I'm well grounded in Caribbean affairs, having been stationed there in the 70s when a lot of the drug trade was in full swing. And therein lies Jamaica's problem. It's been a long-term problem of corruption. It's been a long-term problem of learning the drug trade from the masters. The masters being the very intelligence community itself that is protecting the U.S. It wasn't protecting the U.S. back then. It was trying to find ways around Congress and to bring in drugs and other personnel to the U.S. that could manage the drug trade. They primarily utilized Jamaicans as the managers of the drug trade back then in the 70s, through the 80s and 90s. And what you see today, the end result, is over 25,000 Jamaicans being deported from the United States back to Jamaica having matriculated at the crime academies here, Jamaica has a problem that the JCF was not equipped to deal with. It's only since the JCF has learned the art of the intelligence cycle, which is collection, collation, analysis, and dissemination, to get to active intelligence, active information that the police can act on right away. And they're just learning, they're still learning. You heard the other day when the FBI sent information down about hit teams that were about to execute folks.
Yes.
They reacted on that successfully, but that might have been 1 out of 10 cases, because you see that in the areas of the scammers,
Mm-hmm.
the scammers who fail to get paid, they turn on families in Jamaica of the people who fail to pay them. And those innocent people have been paying a price for a very long time. If it's not scamming, it's now human trafficking.
Yes.
And we found that from a researcher that we had briefed us back in June of last year, that he said to us that the Jamaican scene is very good. The police has a tight hold on it, that it's families that are doing most of the trafficking. So you can't break into the security that the families have. They don't talk about it. They only speak amongst themselves. Well, the next thing we knew, the US Department of State put Jamaica back on tier 2 as one of the top countries in the Caribbean when it comes to the human trafficking.
Mm-hmm.
We go from human trafficking to weapons trafficking. As many weapons that have come into Jamaica that have been stopped, I fail to understand how the collectors of those weapons have not been databased. In other words, indexed and kept on them. You have the same folks that are shipping barrels and stuff to the churches and to the other nonprofits. And when those things are cleared, the weapons come in that way. Now, there's another way that the weapons were coming in, and that was the weapons would come in, most of it comes into the wharf.
Yes.
And then the tractor trailers are driven off the wharf because we have corrupt officials who work at the wharf and they don't stop it. I remind you, the Prime Minister just 2 weeks ago stated that they now have leads on the corrupt customs, the corrupt big men, if we can use that term, as Sir P would say, the 116s, who are engineering this type of trafficking. So I've covered 3 areas for you: human, arms, and the drug trafficking.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Hold on for Mr. Herb. Let us go to Mr. Clark from St. Thomas. He's the chairman for the St. Thomas Crime Unit. Is it the crime unit, sir?
Crime prevention.
Crime prevention unit.
Committee.
Yes. Tell me
Good.
something now. You, St. Thomas is the east of Jamaica. Everything comes in from that end. Whether St. Thomas or the western part of Jamaica, which is Negril, Westmoreland. What is the officials, what is the authority they're doing in that section of Jamaica to stem the gun crisis, to stem the, what is going on?
Jeffrey. We can take another deep breath. It's disheartening. Let me first say good evening and thanks for having me. But there's a Marine Police and a JDF unit that is set up at the Bowden Wharf to monitor the coastline for the guns for drugs and and so forth coming and leaving Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
But I know quite a few persons that work at that post, and the ones that I know are hardworking servants of government and believe in crime fighting. But
Yeah.
numerous times intelligence have come in about the trafficking of drugs or guns or both. And the approach is to respond sometime later, not
Mm.
at the appointed time. And sometimes the intelligence is not acted upon. Um, and sometimes the approach that is taken, you will never apprehend anybody. That's why you hear most of the media reports is that, oh, they found X amount of guns and they found X amount of drugs. But you never hear how many was arrested. You understand me? So how did you find these weapons? How did you find these drugs? But nobody's ever arrested. There was a case in St. Thomas here a couple of weeks ago where a truck was found in a community called Roselle
Yes.
with food items and drugs on board. Now the truck must have entered Jamaica through some means, and it's one of those Japanese trucks. And they put out some report that they wanted the persons that own the truck to come in and to for some form of questioning. I
Right.
know that there's a database that can track that truck through the VIN number and what if there was a registration plate affixed to it. So they must have an address and a name for a person that
Mm-hmm.
they can go and take in for questioning and maybe find exactly who is behind. One of the things that I find with crime fighting in Jamaica is that, and I know I might get bashed for this, but it's just the truth. Most of the detectives that work in CIB, all them do is have on this pretty boot and tight pants and dress shirt and big gun, cock off a hip and how much magazine or extended clip and all of that. It's just a showboating, nothing behind it. When
Mm.
last we had some serious clear up of crimes? There's a crime that committed a break-in that happened a couple of weeks ago. A young man living in a very volatile community, one of the most notorious communities in Mark Bay area. And him start by hustling, by fixing phones on the phaser of the TST patty shop in Mark Bay
Mm-hmm.
town. Till him rent a big store inside of the same building upstairs
Yes.
and building business, and he had a break-in a couple of weeks ago between a Sunday to Monday morning. $1.6 million worth of phones. Gone, high-end phones. And investigators are saying they don't have any leads. But the only way that they could have entered that place, there's so much cameras that is covering that place, the way that the only road the person could walk. And they're saying that they can't get the footage, they don't see anything. But the funny thing about it, Jeffrey, and I'm gonna say this boldly, the perpetrator was caught on camera in the store. You know what they were wearing? Make a wild guess. They were wearing the same suit that the crime scene investigators wear, that white suit. That's what the person was wearing. And the person was a well-dressed person. You can see he's a clean cut person. And he was in no rush inside of that building. You understand me? And the young man keep asking investigator, nothing, no assistant. There's no leads, no nothing. Just gone like that. Now, what are you telling a young man like that chose to go the route of being a person that own a skill and build himself into a business, born and grow in a volatile community? They will call the community Backbush, they call it Friendship Pen in St. Thomas. Anybody that know Mark Bay here will know that it's not a normal place. That, okay? And that young man built himself. And it was the intervention of a no inspector that sort of went to that community and sort of work with a few of those guys and help them to make better decisions. That's what it's coming out of, You understand me? So when the JCF is talking about community policing, there's no real community policing. It's not happening. It's just a brand with nothing behind it. Because if you remember, we did an interview with Steve McGregor. I think it was last year. I was asking to find out that clip. Steve McGregor, I
Yeah.
must tell you, when he was acting superintendent in St. Thomas, there was a community called Seafood, where almost every day there was a shooting that always ended in death. And we went up there and we went street by street, lane by lane, and held meetings with the different factions. And you know what was the root cause of that war, Jeffrey?
Mhm.
You know, they took a baseball hat them.
I
Two
think I heard
gentlemen
about
were
that,
over one baseball hat. And the two gentlemen migrate to overseas and send back money to fund that. You hear me tell you? It's some simple things these killings coming after, you know. Simple things. And they're not wanting of guns. Guns are readily found. There's a section of St. Thomas. The saying is that there's more guns than hands to fire them there. Because that's one of the chief places where guns come in from
But
Haiti and
do you believe, and I'm going to throw this to the three gentlemen here on the platform, do you believe that politics have a lot to do with the crime situation in Jamaica now?
Yes.
Rattigan? Unmute your mic for me.
Is
Yeah,
he
Mark.
still
No,
having,
I was saying Marcel up on a roll. Go ahead, Marcel. Answer the question. I'll defer to you.
Yes, sir, Mr. Rattigan, you want me hang myself out there, you know.
No, man,
But
no,
you see-
man.
you see-
I will make sure nobody hang you. Trust me.
All right, let me say this to you, sir. Jeffrey, no. And I think I thought Jeffrey would have done that at the start of the show. I'm a direct descendant of Paul Bogle. So this boy not afraid of nobody.
Yes.
Okay.
And
good.
I went borrow from a farmer, prime minister. I said, no afraid of no boy. Yeah. But you have family, so you know you have to use wisdom. But
Yes.
honestly, there is so much guns in Jamaica. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Corruption is high. And today I was listening back the November 14th interview where I mentioned that corruption is rampant in Jamaica. And our development plan that built Jamaica in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, Singapore copied it. And they ensured that there was zero tolerance for corruption. And if even a government minister was found wanting, they were convicted and sent to prison.
When last time we sent anyone to prison in Jamaica?
We need that. We need that strong arm approach. And I'm going to say this again. I may get in trouble for it. But right now, I not care. I'm just fed up. I don't know this Jamaica. The Jamaica I know is not it here now. It's a different Jamaica. It's two Jamaica. I wish a Fidel Castro was in Jamaica right now, running this country, where some strong decisions be taken. Because one of the things, we need a total reform of the law. We need some sentencing guidelines. You can't have a judge in Morant Bay charge a man, sentence a man for break into a shop and him get 10 years. And the same as a similar man in Kingston break a shop and him get probation or case dismissed. We have that, We have a case here in St. Thomas where a gentleman shoot a man broad daylight, walk into a bar and shoot the man, hold up a witness. And he was being pursued by the police till he left Jamaica, changed his appearance, left Jamaica, and was overseas. He came back and him bleach out and he was playing sports of all the persons among 3 policemen. You understand me? And
they didn't know.
They didn't know. They didn't know because them look different. That's why I don't like this bleaching thing. I think police should stop them and do a DIU them and do a thorough investigation on it because whatever ID they go in prison.
But Mr. Clark, some of the people in the JSF and the JDF them they bleach.
And it should not be accepted, sir. It should not. It's an alternative appearance because they won't match their ID. They won't.
But let me input for a second, Marcel. I think you were referring earlier to DNA. Because
no, man, not
once
DNA. When they do that, forget what they call it, man, with the police force. I think it's DIU. Something like that.
Once you have that DNA sample, it does not lie. Okay?
That is true.
What they have to do is do a better job of not just collecting the intelligence. Believe me, you have a lot of people to collect intelligence from. Street vendors, the church leadership, some of the parish council leadership, right? People in the financial areas, especially because they know who's putting money into the banking system that is ill-gotten gain. They know the person has no job, right?
Mm-hmm.
They drive a nice fancy car, live in a nice fancy house, and they put money into the system. A lot of them are scammers, a lot of them drug dealers,
Mm-hmm.
human traffickers, you name it. They all are a sorted bunch. But the bottom line is you need to collect the intelligence. You need to uh, put it on a spreadsheet, the name, location, what happened. You need to look for patterns, the way they operate, modus operandi. You need to recall all of these things so that when you're looking for somebody and you go into that database, the suspects pop up immediately, right? But you
Exactly.
see, if the police are not doing their jobs in that sense, if the collection is not there and the correlation is not there and the analysis is not there, then they got a problem. They have nothing to go by. Here in the US, the FBI changed how the agents no longer handle case files. All the case files are handled by analysts. The analysts drive the cases. If Jamaica, I suggested to Jamaica, they establish 3 fusion centers: Cornwall, Middlesex, Surrey. You don't need no area office for the police. You pull all the area offices into one of the 3 fusion centers, right? They
Yes.
can be the overarching control mechanism for the areas.
Mm-hmm.
You should have them to run parallel files and to do all the analysis from what's collected in the field. You should have no police officer show up to court and say, Judge, I can't find the files. The files are missing,
Or
right?
die, listen.
You should have nobody that says, oh, I didn't run a background check. I didn't do due diligence. I didn't do a proper investigation. That should never come up. Why? Because Fusion Center is there to fuse all the information and the data together. You should have police, you should have military, you should have customs, you should have taxman, you should have everybody, right? There's a thing here that William Bratton, former New York Commissioner of Police, did, the broken windows concept. A lot of people call it racial
Profiling.
with racial overtones here in the US.
Mm.
Jamaica don't have to worry about that because everybody is basically the same, right? And you'll be collecting on rich and poor alike, right? So it doesn't matter. You collect that information and you look at the person who's one, not paying taxes, the people who keep the area nasty and slum-like. You look at all of that. You find out where the money for the cleanup has gone. You find where the money to pay people to get the job done, where's that money going? You need like a what we call in basketball a full court press. You need everybody on board with this type of activity to clear up the corruption and to make everybody accountable. The problem is not everybody is accountable. There's a lot of rumors coming out of St. Thomas about your senior superintendent of police, right? You look at shows like Lonesome and you get a lot of good information. Why? Because the police themselves are calling into the show and giving good, actionable intelligence information to Lonesome. So when you look at these different programs, Sir P, Lonesome, you get good information. The police cannot say they don't have access to information. The information is there if they listen, if they collect it, and if they analyze it. you can run the right track and tracing needed to find a lot of these criminals.
Yep.
But you need one thing, leadership.
Yep.
You have to challenge your leadership to do better.
Let me jump in there and say a couple things. One is the simple answer to why we have a runaway crime problem in Jamaica is that there is no political will to stop the scourge of crime. There's no political will, and it goes across the spectrum, both parties. There's no political will. Part of that, I believe, is because you have too many people involved. And if you start doing the things that Herb just mentioned, the fusion center concept, which I broached it with the current prime minister already, right? If you start doing that, and you start having hip pocket sources, you start having confidential sources, confidential witnesses, you start having a ton of information coming in and analysts looking at that, making something out of that. You're going to find that some of the same people who are responsible for preventing crime, they're responsible for the proliferation of crime. And so there is no political will. Now, the fusion center system, that would work wonders in Jamaica. That would work wonders in Jamaica. But again, there is no interest. I mean, I'll give you a quick example of no interest and kind of tie it into the leadership issue that Herb just mentioned. Yes. If you recall, the prime minister selected the chief of staff, Major Anderson.
Anderson. Mm.
Right. He selected him. He picked him from Up Park Camp and made him his first national security advisor. Right. Okay. Which means that he's supposed to be the czar of everything that's going on in terms of national security, right? So when you talk about national security, we're talking about food security, water security, border security, air security, everything, right? He sits at the 30,000 foot level and he's looking down on everything. Now, this man was there for a hot minute and then he moved him over to become the chief of police. Now you start asking yourself, where's the independence of that office? If you have the prime minister picking someone and putting him, inserting him in a position and moving him to another position, ask yourself the question: do you think that if there's an issue with the prime minister, that this police commission is going to make an investigation out of it? My gut feeling is no.
And that is why I keep on saying this, Sir Rattigan and gentlemen. If we decide to go republic, and one thing that we need to do, our constitution has to change totally.
Agreed.
One, we're gonna do like the Americans, where we have senators that are elected. And if a Rattigan want to become commissioner of police for Jamaica, the Senate has to vet him, has to interrogate him. It cannot be that we continue having political leaders appointing a Jeffrey Tavares as Minister of National Security and Injustice, appointing another Tavares or whosoever as Minister of Injustice and as Commissioner of Police. It cannot continue, and that is where the corruption continues in this country.
Jeff, let me stop you right here and just mention one more thing, right? Marcel was talking about basically the open borders, right? And the government itself says that they have identified about 140 illegal points of entry, right? Now, the other day when the prime minister gave a speech when he was talking about the illegal guns coming into the country, and he said that they know who these people are, the people who are bringing in guns illegally through legal points of entry. What he didn't say, and people didn't challenge him on, is what about the illegal points of entry? Because the legal points of entry, we know them. They're only about less than 12, right? But you have 140 illegal points of entry. What are we doing to secure our border? Don't forget the plane landed last year, crash landed just off the coast of Jamaica. Nobody knows the contents. Nobody knows the passengers, right? Except that the Minister of Justice, not the Minister of National Security, said to the press maybe a few weeks after that, the passengers who came on board the airplane have left the country. How does he know that? How does he know that? And that's one thing I'm not, and nobody, and the thing about it, Jamaicans, they have a short-term memory. They forget about them things and they don't hold people accountable and say, Mr. Minister, what happened to those people? What happened to the contents? And you know, I call it the roach theory. If you see one, it's not the only one, it's a lot. So that one plane crash, lots of planes came in bringing in all kinds of contraband. And then you ask yourself the question, you have civil aviation, you have military aviation, plus you have a man sitting in South Florida, where the satellites are, looking at the Caribbean and Central and South America. How come he didn't see that plane violating the airspace? How come the military didn't see it? How come civil aviation didn't see it? How come?
And another thing again, how is it that the JDF, I'm pretty much sure the JDF have equipment far beyond what the JCF has to know when a plane invades Jamaica's airspace. And nothing has been done.
No, nothing. Also, another problem that you're going to have a problem with correctional facilities, right? Because if you start locking up people, you see videos of people having all-white parties in prisons, right? I don't know what kind of nonsense is this, but we don't have enough space, right? Then they don't have enough things to occupy these prisoners while they're serving their time. So that's another issue. Plus, you have the issue of the deportees coming in with sophisticated knowledge that they're coming in now and they're teaching the people in Jamaica. The police can't cope with that. How the police going to cope with that? And then also, remember, the commissioner of police told Cliff Hughes, I think it was this year, he said he needs 16,000 men and women in the JCF to adequately provide safety and security and reassurance. And then the question was asked, how many do you have? He said 10,000. And it's 10,000 and people are retiring left and right, or resigning left and right. Because when you pay a constable 70,000 Jamaican dollars, all right, and then you go and pay the police commissioner millions, and the man is failing. And not only that, you made him the highest paid police commissioner in the history of the JCF, and the man is failing. And he's not only failing, he's failing terribly. Look at the stats.
But not only him, the Minister of National Security and Justice is failing.
Who is holding them accountable?
No one. And that is why I'm going to come to you, Sir Herb. That's why I was saying also that the PSA Committee of Parliament should not be run by a bunch of politicians. It should be run by civil people in Jamaica, not by a bunch of politicians, opposition, and government. So Herb, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to add to what Will just said. The key problem with government is there's corruption in high places. You've got corruption. I don't know if you remember Zara Burton and the 18 Degrees North program when she stuck the mic in front of the Prime Minister and asked him about the lands that he had bought up there in Beverly Hills, right? Ask him about the building of his house. You know, you've got a situation where this man has untold millions of dollars and there's no logical explanation as to how he came into all of this money, right? He's got people within his office who have traveled the Western Hemisphere over, making deposits and doing all kinds of stuff within the Western Hemisphere that has cost them their visas. Now, when you take away the visas from 6 or more people,
hold on. Sir Herb, hold a while for me.
Okay.
Jeffrey, I have a slight family emergency. I have to step off a few. I'll be right back.
Okay. Yes, sorry about that. Go ahead.
No problem. when you take away people's visas, it's a huge deal. Now, the investigations are available to the Prime Minister himself. If he wants to know the reason why these people lose those visas, the majority of people happen to be under his control. I'm talking about the police men as well as the ministers who lost the visas. But he never brought it to the attention of Parliament, and he never asked for secondary investigation by MOCA, by FID, or any other intelligence office down there in Jamaica. Isn't it strange that he doesn't want to know the reason, the official reason why these people are losing visas, and why he never investigates it? Right?
Well, maybe everybody is saying that as a prime minister, maybe he knows and don't want to say.
Well, I submit to you that he more than likely does know, but he does not want to out the members of his party. You have people who have 500,000 barrels of oil missing. You have people who came up here to the US selling various stock programs and then transfer the money back to an account down to the Ministry of Education and then try to put it in a personal account. You have all kinds of people.
Hold on for me, Mr. Herb. That is headline news. Is something can be proven?
It is the very reason why those two ministers were called on the carpet and summarily dismissed. That they are no longer ministers at those respective ministries. Right? This is something that the head of the Jamaica Crime Task Force there in Florida is well aware of and is knowledgeable of, because he sponsored one of them when they came up and was selling whatever wares they were peddling at the time. This is not a mystery. This is stuff that they're aware of. These people have never been to jail. They've been sitting at home on Easy Street all this time, and nobody has pushed the prosecution. They're playing this long game with the Privy Council reviewing evidence and telling Jamaica what they can or cannot do. Again, this is not a reason why Jamaica should be a republic. So we don't have to go to the Privy Council. And I don't know if we're ready to join the Caribbean CCJ.
I don't trust the Caribbean Court of Justice. I really don't.
Right. Well, you have to look at it this way. They have to grow together. Or you're going to end up with, now they're talking about corruption among judges in Jamaica. So if you have corruption at every level, the executive, the parliament, right?
The judicial.
And the judiciary, you got a big time problem on your hands. Now,
I think at one point, the current president of the United States, Joe Biden, when the president of Haiti was assassinated, I think he gave a speech, if my memory serves me correctly, and said that Jamaica better be careful. And I think what he was trying to say to us, the level of corruption in this country is appalling. A group of Jamaicans, a group of concerned Jamaicans, along with some police officers, I don't think they're in the JCF same way, who wrote a letter to the President of the United States. A copy was sent to me asking them to get involved in what is going on in Jamaica, both with the crime situation, the corruption in this country. I mean, this one come in and said that they promised us that we can have the door open. And the crime is out of work. You can see with the door open and the crime is... None of them has a concrete plan for the security of the people of this country. So, David, Rattigan?
Yeah, absolutely correct. Look, in the sense that they really don't know what they're doing. In terms of a plan, there have been so many plans. I mean, if you just Google crime plan and for Jamaica, they have lots of plans. The problem is they don't know. They haven't. I shouldn't say they don't know. They haven't implemented the plan, and then they come up with all kinds of initiatives, all kinds of initiatives to address the crime problem, and they fall by the wayside because there is no structure, there is no leadership, there's no continuity, there's no funding. Look at Zozo. Zozo was supposed to be the magic bullet to end this crisis, or at least to control the crisis, and it was based on a strategy of clear, build, and hold, right? Mm-hmm. and our clear, hold, and build, and the build part of it was supposed to be social services coming in to help the community with various types of assistance, housing, health, infrastructure, and so on and so forth. Jamaica doesn't have the money to do that, and so what you end up having is remember
what I'm gonna say, Mr. Rattigan. How do you mean Jamaica have the money to do that? If they can find $100 billion, is the biggest contract in the history of this country. It's pay a carpet for them building.
Well, I stand corrected. It's not that Jamaica doesn't have the money to do it. It's just that Jamaica is not spending the money to do it. And so they preach poverty and they plead poverty. But what happened is that you find that you have the soldiers and the policemen who are and women who are part of the Zozo strategy. It's a tactic. It turns out to be a tactic because they just sit down at the corner. They're not doing anything, and everybody knows what's going on. And I've heard so many stories of people killing people within walking distance of where these people are stationed. I myself have driven through several of these checkpoints without being checked. You know, so they come out with the curfew. They come out with Zozo. They come out with this. They come out with that. And nothing seems to work because you know why? They don't have qualified people with experience. They don't have a really workable plan. And the thing about it is that they don't want somebody like me and her there because see, we don't have no friend when it comes to crime fighting. Wherever the evidence takes us, that's where we're going to go. And if it means you have to lock up 2 or 3 or 10 big man, then that's what we have to do. The other thing the thing that I really worry about is this though. After you lock them up, the question is, will they be found guilty and sent to prison? Because I don't know if you're aware of this, but I saw a stat recently that says if you commit a murder in Jamaica, you stand a 90% chance of getting away. You stand a 90% chance of getting away simply because the police did something wrong, witness don't show up. Police.
Our money was given for them to keep them out short.
Money drop. Okay. All right. So
now you say you understand why you need the fusion center, because if they're running a parallel case, it's very difficult for stuff to disappear at the station level, which is how these guys usually get away. So you're gonna shut that back door down. Go ahead, Will. Sorry about that.
No. Like I was saying, if you commit murder, I mean, it's you don't really have to worry because especially if you have money, because at some point this case is gonna disappear. The docket will be missing, or witnesses won't show up, or something is gonna happen, and it's unlikely. It's on a 9 out of 10 chance of getting away. So the idea of, and I've heard people talk about, by the way, just before the last election, yes, a group of, the opposition, government, civil society, the academics, and a whole bunch of people, academicians, and a whole bunch of people got together, and they came out with something called, if I'm not mistaken, it's called a manifesto on crime or something like that. And they start having benchmarks saying they're going to do this, they're going to do that, and they're going to do this, and they're going to do that. And they all agreed And in fact, one of the persons who was responsible for spearheading this project, he did an interview with a friend of mine up in New York. And when he got off the radio, I said to my friend, you know what? Call him back 6 months or call him back a year and ask him about the benchmarks. Then none of them will be met. And right now, if you look at it, none of them, has been met. None of them. You have like the gentleman said, like Marcel said, you have more guns. I mean, he was talking about his constituency where he is, but throughout Jamaica, you have more guns than hands can fire them. And one second, they jump up and when they do a little seizure, and sometimes you want to say to yourself, is this really? You have to ask yourself. I'm not saying it is, but you have to ask yourself if it's contrived, because they catch a little 20 gun and then lay it out and they bring the media and they do a whole media thing on it. But at the same time, they're telling you that they estimate that 200 guns are coming into the country illegally. So if you catch 20, I mean, I'm not good for maths, but I think you're missing 180, right?
And another thing again, we must ask ourselves, gentlemen, when they collect all those guns, where do they go?
My brother.
Same way they can call the media that they seize them. Why don't they call the media and say, okay, we destroy them?
Or have the media videotape the destruction in process, right? You don't see any of that stuff.
No.
The points are well taken. The fix has to be from the community level up. You really need community policing, but you need the police to be involved along with the JDF and other private sector people. You need more community involvement. I know we had an attorney who used to be a former footballer come to Jamaica and preach business house leagues, right? They need to start paying our footballers, our netballers, need to start paying everybody a stipend to play the game. And not only to play the game, but to go down into communities and organize at the youth levels down there. Here in the USA, I'm sure you see it in Florida. The soccer moms are out there. They have the balls, they have the kids are in uniform, and every age group from under 8, under 10, under 12, all the way up to under 20 is playing in competitive soccer leagues.
Right.
We have that atmosphere in track and field that has produced the world's top track and field performers. But we don't have it in football, right? Football, soccer, whatever they want to call it. We need more of that. We established this football academy in Portmore. And every Saturday morning, between 50 to 100 kids are gathered there. They're fed. They go to practice for about 3.5 hours. And they sit afterwards and they get some counseling. And this is how we've been able to keep a lot of Portmore kids out of trouble. But the same thing needs to be repeated in every community where you have these so-called semi-pro football teams. They need to have the senior players step down into the community and talk with young people. We just had the top goal scorer in Manning Cup get killed a week ago. Get shot, right? I think he's 17 or 18 years old. So we have to stop that kind of activity, and we need to start value life.
But you know, gentlemen, we need to ask ourselves this question, though, you know. When we are electing political leaders, do we know their background? Do we know anything about them? And
They don't
Very
live
likely.
in the communities either.
There you go. And what they do, they throw the person on the constituency, just like St. Thomas.
Yep.
They throw the person on the people of St. Thomas, or the people of Western Westmoreland, or the people of Eastern wherever. And the question lies, does the politicians of Jamaica have any respect for the people of Jamaica? What sort of vision have they have? I heard the GG talking about Vision 2030 to live and work where? In a corrupt, crime-infected nation? Where none of them have any plan to get rid of it? And every day they come out, they have this robust thing to talk about, and this, and use some big word, so some people don't understand the damn things. Fundamental democratic hypocritical. When are we gonna wake up in this country and say enough is enough? We are Jamaican citizens. It doesn't matter where we're from or where we go. We still remain Jamaican citizens, and it cannot continue like this no longer. And I am employing the diaspora that if Jamaica should become a republic, we need to have strong say in the way our constitution is going to be drafted.
Well, you touch on something there, that we can shift gears on, which is the diaspora has been asking for representation in the Senate. And if you go back to around 2010, there was both parties agree that should be the case. And then back in 2015, we have the current Minister of Tourism, Mr. Bartlett, who was the opposition spokesperson on foreign affairs. He said yes, indeed, the diaspora should have a seat at the table. And then in 2016, I heard with my 2 ears, the prime minister, current prime minister, said that yes, they were also looking at a mechanism whereby people in the diaspora could vote. But certainly, the idea of a diaspora representation in the Senate was warmly welcomed. And then what happened after that? Nothing, right? And so I'm at the point now where where in order for something to happen in that realm, a bill has to be brought before Parliament. No party, no prime minister, no government has ever submitted a bill, despite the agreement that yes, these guys and girls, they should have a seat at the table. So the question then becomes, who's going to take the first step to in that direction? Who? Because what they do is they keep coming and they keep promising. They say, yeah, we believe you should have a seat. But what happened? A lot of us in the diaspora, we don't realize that the promise is, like my father used to say, a promise is a comfort to a fool. Well, me no fool. And I know that in order for this to take effect, you have to have a bill, right? Whether you're going to have a bill, whether to change the constitution so that this can happen, or you have a bill independent of the constitution. Something has to be done legally in Parliament. Nobody has done it, and for more than a decade, we've got nothing but promises. So the idea that we need to be forceful and we need to have a say in if we go a republic. I'm saying even if we don't do a republic for now, we still need to have a seat in the Senate, and it's been promised. This is not something that the diaspora is saying, oh, we think we deserve it. This is something that both parties have said, yes, you should be a part of this thing. And yet still none of them submit a bill. So without a bill, there's nothing. It's just an empty promise.
So in other words, what they do every 5 years, whoever's in opposition or whoever's in government, tour the entire diaspora, tell them a whole bunch of promises, and nothing comes out of the promises.
Absolutely zero. Look, in June you're gonna have the biannual Jamaica 60th anniversary, right? And we're gonna go down there just like we did 2 years ago and 2 years before and 2 years before that. And they're going to tell us all kind of good things. And when you leave, you wonder where the leadership is in the diaspora to insist that these milestones be met. It's not happening, Jeff. You look,
Yes.
take a good look. You have people here that talk a good game. As a matter of fact, they are now doing the divide and conquer routine up here. You have 4 or 5 people that are chosen by the governing party, and they tell us that these are our leaders. Well, these leaders, there is nobody there amongst them that's challenging the government, because the government is the one that they're attached to. So we need real leadership. And to me, the Diaspora Crime Task Force has to be the area to push that. But like I was saying to you earlier, if you are aware of the shenanigans that these people are doing when they come up, and you're too close to the party or parties, then it makes you ineffective.
And that is why, Mr. Herbert, that is why you see me, Jeffrey Tavares, talking to you here, having this program.
Yeah.
I keep on saying to people, my name may be associated with the Labour Party, but my country come first.
Yep.
Not any political party in this country. And if I should be invited to that diaspora thing in Jamaica, they're gonna call police and take me out. Because if they're talking a damn nonsense that I don't like, I'm going to say, okay, shut up, they're gonna chat this every year.
Yep.
Until we start do something like that. So shut up, man, we're not do this every damn year. We're not talking anything with sense. Every year we come and do the same thing, repeat the same thing over and it's the same thing with the damn budget. Go ahead, Marcel.
Yeah, Jeffrey, if the diaspora wants to get the government's attention, all the diaspora has to do is to lobby for all those persons overseas. Stop sending remittances and they'll get their attention. Sometimes you have to bite the bullet, to get the change.
But Sir Clark, if you go stop sending look at chip and safe and if you buy look at dirty girl and look at this and look, the people are not dead for hungry.
But we either way they were dead from gunshot too. So look at it which one
point.
better.
But the thing about remittances is this, right? A major part of it is not money where you send for granny and your cousin and your father or mother. A major part of it is investment that the diaspora they invest in Jamaica, and they pay taxes. Some of them, a lot of them, they have property in Jamaica and they pay property taxes as well. So that they can't avoid, because if you don't pay your taxes, then you're going to end up losing your property, right? Somebody's going to pay it for you and then take it. But the investment part of it, or at least, Marcel, here's what I would submit to you. At least say it. Tell them that, hey, if we don't, we are watching this thing now for years, and if we don't change in the speech, we're going to take action. But nobody's saying it in the diaspora. I don't know why. Maybe because the diaspora to some degree is fractured. And so, yeah. Oh, by the way, the government of Jamaica also controls the diaspora to some degree. I don't know if you guys are aware of it. The last election, yeah, they have appointed people to the diaspora. So the diaspora is not independent any longer. I mean, some people argue that it was never independent because it was established by the PNP, and so they have some kind of foothold in there. But at least they didn't select the representatives. No, this JLP party, they have selected representatives to the diaspora. So some of the things that you talk in confidence, it's nothing. You might think it's in confidence, but that conversation is being leaked to the ambassador, the consular general, back to Jamaica. So there's no secrecy, there's no privacy. You can't build any strategy, because as soon as you start talking about it, they have people within. They've permeated the organization. So I don't know, but I agree with you though. I agree with you that somebody needs to get up and start shouting and say, look, this is nonsense. Every year is promises, or every 2 years, or you know what? When they need money, they come up. Will come up. Yeah, when they need money, they come up, and this is what they do. For example, the PNP, they have outstretched their hands to the diaspora. They're supposed to be coming up in July, and that's a fundraising thing, right? But what's going to happen is that I think they're going to be in for a rude awakening, because people are waiting for them to come to ask the tough questions. Like, for example, the question I raised, that if you believe that we should have a seat at the table in Parliament, then why don't you submit a bill? Submit a bill and let the other party say, no, we don't want it to happen. And then we know who our friends are, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
But you can't promise us and have them promise us. And at the end of the day, we get promises from both sides and we get nothing done. Nonsense.
Wilfred, when I say withdraw the remittances, I'm not talking about a permanent withdrawal, because the taxes here is once a year. You know what I mean? We have months away. So pay this one, then come May. We stop sending remittance for at least 3 months, and I bet you they'll jump to every beat that the diaspora say. Everything that the diaspora want, they will get it.
You know what I think? I think that just the mention of it, that this is what we're going to do. It's never been mentioned. People discuss it, but they're afraid to really express it, right? So we talk in our little groups, but when the politicians come here, we snug up to them and we pretend as if everything is fine, and we don't say that we don't have the hard discussions that we should have with them. That's what we need to do.
You say the photo ops, everybody go for the photo ops.
Yeah. But just say, "Chew me now, beg no friend," and we retire. I mean, I come be completely happy in my.
And if it was the famous kisser, because a man leave from a place in a Timbuktu, come to Jamaica for a famous kiss, how much million traffic you already give them again?
31.
Yes. The executive traffic you will leave from wherever I leave from. Come to Jamaica for get a $31 million kiss.
See?
Is it? So what we do, is stuck up to them when they come, they kiss. Papa love you, mama love you. But I'm telling you something, some people not gonna like me.
Jeffrey, remember? No, go ahead. All right. Let me throw something out to you. Herb has participated in this exercise. The Waterhouse community, they have a YouTube program where,
yes, I heard about it.
Yeah, where they bring their MP on the program and they ask him the hard questions. In fact, he and I know we're like best of friends, because he and I at one point we were at odds. I don't know why, but we were at odds. But no, we're okay right now because we understand each other's position. But I would suggest that since you have the airwave, what you should probably do in conjunction with Marcel is have something where small communities or different constituencies can have programs like this, because now we're talking amongst ourselves, right? But who should really be here is the politician to answer the question. And then what we do is we take the thing and we broadcast it to his constituency to see how he performs under fire.
Let me say something. Let me say something to you, Sir Rattigan. I think Sir Clark can tell you they will not come on my program. Not one single come on my program. Okay, you know why? When they come on to certain nonsense, I don't put up with it. Because if they're talking nonsense, I say, look here, Minister, look here. Enough of your political gibberish. So they won't come on my program. I will try, because I'm supposed to have the Minister of Education on my program pretty soon. Hopefully she will come on. All of this promising, and they love to promise, and they promise down to the very strand of hair on the head. So let us see if that can work. It's a good idea. It's a good suggestion. Marcel, maybe what we can do, I know for a fact that the 2 MP for St. Thomas won't come on.
Hold on. You mean Mr. Roberts and who else? What's his?
And Michelle Charles.
They won't come on?
No, man, they won't come on.
You want me to ask them for you?
Jeffrey.
Please do.
Jeffrey. Jeffrey.
Yeah, go ahead.
Myself and the Chamber of Commerce plus TADS, we're trying to get them and the mayor and NWA and so forth, the fire department, all the stakeholders, into a meeting soon the Chamber of Commerce, they're going to hold a meeting first amongst themselves, and then they're going to invite them. So I'll be there. I'll let you know. So maybe you can come on or broadcast it. You know what I mean?
If they're gonna have a live feed through Zoom, I can.
Yeah, man. We're gonna try and they, well, not me, them. I'm gonna try and get them to the table because you know the road situation is really out of control. It's really unbearable.
You ever hear thing like this, Mr. Rattigan and sir? They're building a road into St. Thomas, where China Harbor Engineering have one leg of the road. And
No,
they
they're
give another leg.
Jeffrey.
Yeah.
China Harbor has the entire contract, you know.
Mhm.
But the deal was that they were supposed to sub out certain sections on the eastern side to local contractors. It's China
Yeah, to the
Harbor
politician them. To the
well,
politician of company.
oh boy.
They
And
sub
then they in turn sub it out to other persons.
in other words, one contract, have $158 million subcontractors.
Mm-hmm.
And if you see the road, it is in a deplorable condition. And you call on the MP, no answer. You call on the mayor, Kananapong. This is what the people of the country going through.
So Marcel, as a community activist, and I
Don't
don't know,
use the word. Don't
that's
use
what
the
I said.
word.
I don't know if you are, but you should be. You should be. So, because you're not afraid of nobody, you know. You're not afraid of nobody. So
No,
you can't take any title. So a situation like this, then what is your role in addressing something like this so that the community can benefit from something like this, so you don't have this kind of seeming corruption?
I took it a step further. I spoke to the China Harbor representative about some issues, and we had a situation at a section of the road on the license leg, just outside of Marby, just right at the border of Marby town, where they had a sinkhole just past the Marant Villas. And it was backing up traffic all the way about 2 miles or more. And it was unbearable at rush hour. And even without rush hour, it was unbearable. And I had to call a gentleman and speak to him about it. He told me the problem was that there was a house right at the spot that the drain pipe drains onto the road. So he called NEPA, and NEPA did an investigation, but they didn't give him the report, and so forth. But the problem was he was having a problem with the drain coming on the road, but it is a norm in the parish for the health sector to allow it. But there was a gutter there, and because they ripped everything up, the gutter was removed. So the water just spilling out onto the road, and they dug up a section there to lay some pipes, and they backfill it with the same clay and not with sand. So as a little wetting come, is putty. And trucks got stuck there, cars got stuck there. So I called him and he said he was waiting on that report. And then they came the Friday, and the Tuesday they came and put somebody, you know, when they scrape off the old blacktop.
Asphalt.
Yeah, asphalt. And they throw it there, and it's been good since. And apparently they deal with the water, but I still see a little wetting now and then. But the problem is that there's a lot of rain from the other day. I know we're going into May. So I spoke to him.
Hold on, Circular. Before the rain, you know, so they have been doing a good job. Because
No,
they have been getting calls and everything.
When it's dry, it's a dust nuisance. And then you have the potholes. There's a bridge that they call out by Dumfries. There's some drain holes on the bridge. And they scrape the road and they just leave the debris there so the holes clog up. So then it flood over onto the entrances to the bridge. And it just have some ditches. And them ditch, they are precipice. And your car just scrape, they bang. It's just unbearable, brother.
So who have oversight? Who have construction oversight of this project?
NWA. But you hardly see them. There's a gentleman on the road in the mornings between 7 and 8 o'clock. And you'll see him stop periodically along the road of the license here. I don't know who he is, but you see a government plate, and he stop and he will come out and he look. But I've tried to catch his attention, but if you stop, you just create a traffic jam. So I can't stop with it. But I need to find out who he is. But I keep seeing him looking, but I don't see the adjustments. There's some obvious things there are. There's a leg of road by which
You only get paid with taxpayer money if you do not drive up and down and do nothing.
new vehicle. There's a
Uh-huh.
leg, there's a stretch of road as you leave in Johnstone crossing to the border of Retreat by Elder Avenue. They dug across the road and put in that black drain pipe. And they leave this big ditch on the western side of the road. And up to now, they come and throw them all up the road and stop right at that ditch. They don't feel it. I just can't understand. And this black drain pipe that they're using, I don't think it's sufficient to handle some of the water at certain sections. I tell you a horror story. One night, I was going home about 10 o'clock.
Mr. Clark, before you do that, let I remind people what we're talking about. This is Make We Talk special edition. We're talking to Mr. Rattigan, Mr. Herb, and Mr. Mercer Clark pertaining to the corruption in Jamaica. We switch the conversation to what is going on in St. Thomas, wherein people can't see the member of parliament. The two members of parliament for the area, Western and Eastern St. Thomas, Dr. Michelle Charles for Eastern St. Thomas, and Western St. Thomas is Mr. James Robertson. They can't see them. You have some old people who can hardly walk to go and get the local medication. The fire brigade is having a problem to drive if there is a fire, then God help you. And nobody to address the situation. The mayor him afraid for talk. For him want his cannon upon.
Jeffrey, let me tell you a horror story one night. I was started a while ago. I was going home about 10 o'clock and they dug up right across the road. They did half of it right at the jerk center and license. And about 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, somebody called me hysterical. They dug right across the entire road. That time we had the curfew, I think, was at 10 o'clock. And he said to me that persons were sitting there for over an hour, can't move, including the fire brigade with sirens blaring, trying to go east to a situation.
Me not the member of parliament. Hold on now, man. Me not the member of parliament in bed. And then we walk hills and valleys and cross down to the very Yellow River to get vote. And the people that want and can't find them. You know what's going on in this country with these so-called members of parliament who want to respect for the people of this country?
The fire
Michelle
brigade,
Clark, Charles and James Robertson has no respect for the people of St. Thomas.
the fire brigade, siren had to turn off and sat there just like regular citizens, including the police was there too, and had to do the same thing. And there was a returning resident, not really a visiting resident from the US, a Jamaican, brought some Caucasian visitors, and they went somewhere, I think Clarendon or somewhere, on some engagement. I was coming back to St. Thomas to collect their bags to go back to the airport for 5 o'clock flight. And coming back, they broke down at Botany Bay, and a goodly citizen assisted them, only to come and meet up on that. They couldn't get home to get their bags to go back to the airport for 5 o'clock. They were there up to after 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And the contractor just meekly moving it, snail pace. No urgency to even come about the road so to facilitate the fire truck and the police going to an emergency. Nothing. You hear me say? Nothing. And nobody. But I can tell you.
When election calling up.
Well, Jeffrey, I want you to hear this. But let there be some kind of haven of asphalt somewhere in the parish on the eastern side. You see the member of parliament out there videoing and post it on social media. Oh, we're paving road.
Which one of the members call name? Michelle Charles, call name.
Yeah, that's have to go on the person's social media site. You'll see them. You understand me? And
I'm
it's
sick
a
and tired of them, man. I'm sick and fed up of these so-called members of parliament and politicians in this country who take poor people for fool. Huh? And when they done the walk hills and valley, they come and talk to Sir Rattigan. You know, if you vote for me, you know, tomorrow morning I give you 45 pound of chicken back. Or I give you some chicken in your cube. Or I fix the road and I start fix road, you know. They start fix road. And finally win the seat that's in the parliament, you don't see them again.
Jeffrey.
Somebody said to me today, said Jeffrey, the Prime Minister is doing a great job. He may be doing a great job, but he has some people who is under him who need some haul and pull up.
But let me ask you a question. Talk about community activism. If a MP, like you said, them go walk hills and valleys to get your vote, and then you get your vote, and you don't hear from them after like the first 6 months or so after you get your chicken back and you get
all for a whole year.
All right, so you don't hear from them again.
Some don't get the promises.
Yeah. Why you going to vote for them the next go around?
Even if you don't vote for them, they still win the election. You know?
That's a different issue.
Election call tomorrow morning. St. Thomas win again.
That's a different issue.
Well, Jeffrey, that brings up a new
that's a different issue.
Here. Because what's happening, and as the chairman for the Crime and Security Committee at the Institute of Caribbean Studies, I look at the Caribbean. What is rampant throughout the Caribbean as well as Jamaica is the vote buying, right? Millions of dollars spent in the last election, 10 million US, I understand, 14 billion Jamaican. But there was one party that spent that, and the other party spent half of that to buy votes.
So Herb, the other part must shut for them out, you know, because them buy vote for 18 live long years and wreck this country.
Yep. This thing is out of control. And this is why only 1/3 of the voters showed up. Because it's a foregone conclusion that whoever is spending the most money go win. So you only have 1/3 of the people deciding to vote. And then when you see people show up to vote and they get called over to a vehicle and they get handed some money and you have an agreement as to whether they're not going to vote or they will vote a certain way, that is a problem.
But not only that, you have some of these so-called people running for election in this country.
Yeah.
Will tell the notorious Dans in the community.
Yep.
Go to do so. And they don't do so for me. You know if you do so. That is what is going on in Jamaica.
Yep.
That's
the problem. That's the problem with the garrisons. The garrisons mean you have people trapped in this community. And then the gunmen can go door to door representing the Don to force people to the polls.
Representing the MP.
Jeffrey and Sir Nelson. Sir Nelson, you forgot a major part of the vote buying scenario. That they have the very ink for you to dip your finger and they're not sure if you're going to vote for them or not and take their money.
Yeah.
That has been frequent in the last couple of by-elections and elections. There was something that happened rampant in this last election, and it is coming from knowledge gained from persons that used to work with the electoral system that are now a part of certain political parties. And if you're in intelligence, you would know that.
Yeah.
You know, I won't get into details on this platform, but we can talk off the air.
Spill the worms, man, but spill it in a code.
No, I've said enough. Trust me, I've said enough. If you read,
hold on there, you hold your pin there now. The electoral office is as corrupt as the two political parties in this country.
Yep.
In fact,
that's why the corruption is far and wide.
Jeffrey,
both sides.
Jeffrey, I implore you to go on. I think it's the Gleaner did a an interview with a former employee of the electoral office about after retiring or resigning. I remember what it was. And if you read that article, you will be shocked to learn some things and how a particular election result turned out because of intimidation. And he spoke very clear in that interview. I urge you to go and read it.
I know what you're talking about. Hold on a second, Sir Herb. There was a certain constituency, me not afraid for talking. There's a certain constituency in this country where the MP losing seat and then do so for win the seat. But the party couldn't win. Go ahead, talk now, Mr. Herb.
Jeffrey,
Yeah.
before you go on, let me just put out a disclaimer. Because of my work in the crime prevention in St. Thomas, I have been the target of numerous hits on my life. And that's why I am speaking very reserved. You know, I have family, so I'm just putting that out there. But I still do what I have to do without fear. But you know, I have a family, so you know, I will speak with as much wisdom as possible. But it's nasty. The electoral system is very nasty. Very nasty. And I know the scenario you're talking about quite well. I can give you
Now you need to feed the information to the crime task force so that they will have that data.
Which hold on now. Which crime task were you talking about now, sir?
I'm talking about Dr. Francis.
Dr. Who?
Rupert Francis.
The diaspora crime intervention.
Diaspora crime, yeah. Or you could send it to Will. You could send it up to Will, and we will collate it, and we will.
Then let me ask you something now. Both you and Sir Rattigan. Let me ask you something now. So we find out certain things. Say Tom Jones decide to go open back career cigarette company. And some drugs lads from Colombia decide to give him $40 billion to open careers in the hills of Blue Mountain Peak with cottages.
Yeah.
And we take it to you now. We not pass on to the corrupt police force in this country?
No. We wouldn't necessarily do it that way. All right. We would have to know that the people, if it's Mocha, it would be a specific person in Mocha. If it's
Mr. Herb, sir, tell me about him to you. As far as I can see, and as far as I know, you remember the words of the late and former Prime Minister of this country, Bustamante said, from top to bottom corrupt. From top to bottom corrupt. So every single government entity in this country is corrupt. We don't know who to trust. And I want nobody to challenge me on this.
But let me say this, right? You would have to, because the question asks here, when we are running it through an agency here that we know has cross-border authority, is who did you pass it to down there? So then we can then leverage one agency here against any agency down there. Now, the other part of that is we can do the media routine. I would love to see you as a broadcaster linked to all the other broadcasters we deal with here in the US. And that you have a certain code that everybody signs saying that regardless of who you're affiliated with, the truth comes first. And if you can get that code amongst yourselves as broadcasters, then we'll begin to organize the diaspora in the right way. We will appeal to people because a lot of people listen to your program and they want to react in a certain manner. And we have to direct them what to do. If it's a write-in campaign for something, they do the write-in campaign to a specific person. Or a call-in, you call somebody's phone number till they're tired. You call them cell number and you leave messages. You call the office and you leave messages. If it's one that the General Anderson needs to take action, then you call him out on it. You say, look, here's a clear-cut crime. We can even get Will to name the chapter and verse that they violate, and you put it to them, right? You have to call these people out. I know there's no shame, but once you start calling them out and say they failed to act, and you take it to the Southern Command down there in Miami, because they are operating under CBSI, and then you have another HR 4939 or Public Law 114-291 that we now operate under, that allows us in the diaspora to submit complaints or to submit correction or what have you. We can now impact the way Congress acts on certain things. And don't forget, the ultimate is the senator from Leahy, the Leahy rule, Leahy law, that
Senator
covers
Leahy, yeah.
corruption. Yes, Jamaica gets over $200 million from the US. And if they violate the Leahy rule, then it's withdrawn or suspended.
Hold on there, sir.
Yeah.
Jamaica get $200 million to do what?
Between education and crime alone, they get about 60 million. So education and health, especially with COVID, they got over $200 million US.
Sir Clark, your brain younger than mine. How much trillion that is?
Can't count. Whole heap of money, brother.
So hold on now. Lord Jesus have his mercy, dear God. Them giving them money. Them
Yes.
know how the money spend?
Well, here's the trick. The trick is this. If you mess with US funds, there's something called the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. And you'll go to jail and you will spend time in the federal pen. So they're not going to mess with the US money. They're going to try and keep it in a protected pot. You have to, if you can prove that they mess with the US funds, then somebody's going to go to jail.
My God.
There's a lot of money that the US has been given. And the last person that I knew in the Homeland Security investigation down there was looking for the return on investment. They wanted better cooperation and they wanted results.
Sir Rattigan, hold on, sir. Sir Rattigan, you can't call the number there because me not understand the number there.
It looks like a 31 billion. Go back again, Marcel.
It's in the chat, you know. It's in the chat. Hold on. 31.
31 billion, 200 million.
150 to 1.
Yeah, 31 billion, 200 million.
Yes. 1 billion, 200 million.
And some of that is being given to education too.
Education and the Ministry of National Security as well as JCF, JDF.
I think some of the money they go to Ministry of Justice as well.
Justice.
Continue talking, excuse me.
And health. And I don't even talk about what they get from the EU or from Canadian aid or UK aid. So that's more money coming from those sources.
Why? You know, look pretty, Marcel. You know, look pretty at all.
Marcel, you there?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we'd dearly love to work with you some more, man. You know, don't feel like you're the Lone Ranger.
I'm gonna suggest to Jeffrey to pass my number to you guys, and we
Yeah.
can have a chat
Yeah.
after this is finished.
Not a problem.
And I will share some experiences and some challenges.
Alright, Marcel, you keep it down there. You remember you're live on here, so you will just keep it and we do have to do. You
Yeah,
be
man.
careful because they threaten to kill me too. But they can't do me nothing. Let me make it clear that my life is at risk, but they can't do me one damn thing.
Mhm. You know, gentlemen, we're gonna wrap up soon. But you know, when you look on the whole scenario that is going on in our beloved country, you say to yourself, why are we voting? Make any sense we vote? Boy,
Every 5 years we change, we swap black dog for monkey. From 1932 until now, we've been swapping black dog for monkey.
our monkey for black dog.
One out of the two. So Rattigan, that salvation don't mean to eat it.
You get caught, Will.
Mm.
The man bust you out.
No, you know what happened? No, what is that? I'm fasting. It's Ramadan now. I'm a Muslim.
Oh,
So
yes.
we just finished. The fast just come and my wife just bring in my food. You know, somebody just say,
Yes,
out of respect, let me hide and eat. You know, but you catch me.
So Rattigan, do you know Dr. David Mohammed
Where's he from?
from Trinidad?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay.
Wilfred,
Hmm?
I'm
Yeah,
about to break one too.
Oh, you break it fast, no?
On the other side.
Eh? Oh, on the other side. Okay.
Yeah, man. But I do know about Ramadan and all of that. I did some studies on the Quran, you know. So I understand the program.
Yeah, man. It's
Yeah, man.
rough, man.
But you see, but Jeffrey, I could call him out. You can't eat him alone. I share the food too.
Ah! But
No, what happened is that my wife, I don't know if you know this, Jeffrey, that Marcel don't know, but Herb know. My wife is from South Africa. She's not a Muslim. She's not a Muslim. She's a Christian. But what happened is that she cooked some South African food, which is them cook curry, them call it mutton.
yes.
Yeah, but is that she come from Durban, the east side of South Africa.
Mhm.
Okay.
And it's the largest Indian population outside of India.
In other words, it's sort of a roti thing they have, but you
Yeah,
use
well,
it and eat with the chicken.
Them do that too, and then also them cook when them cook the goat, it spice up and them use carrots and all kind of things.
Yes.
Yeah, man, you know it.
Nice, nice.
But I just gonna say you're eating fufu, which is a Nigerian
Nigerian
thing.
thing, yeah, Nigerian, yeah.
I know some of it, man.
No, but
But
we need to do something about this problem, yeah. And like I say, it's nice that we are sharing ideas and we are discussing stuff, but we need to get to the people who really in a position to make decisions and said, listen, at the end of the day, the voters control this country, not UNO. And until the population at large can understand that, because I come from Waterhouse and it's always been a PNP constituency. And I always used to ask, why is it that back in the 70s, David Core was the MP, and you only see this man when it was the election cycle, and then bring a truck of chicken come, and the people them get the free chicken and things like that, and then you never see him again. Never see him again. And somehow we beholden to them. We have relinquished power to them, and we look to them like some kind of demigods. Like
when we see them wanting bass, give me something to bass, and all those bloody nonsense. What we need to do as individuals and as a diaspora need to do, I'm willing to host it. I am willing to host it. We need to have a forum. We need to organize a forum. I've been thinking about it. I know I said it to you, Sir Rattigan. We need to have a forum pertaining to the whole Jamaica becoming a republic. How many people understand the meaning of republic? How many people understand the meaning of reparation? We're calling for the Queen to apologize to us. Yes, she needs to apologize to us. But the politicians of Jamaica, the two political parties, need to apologize to the people for the atrocity of the Carl Gardens killing, the burning down of the Eventide home. In the 1990s, when the PNP pick up the street from off of the streets between Negril Point to Moran Point and dump them in the mud lake in St. Elizabeth. What comes out of that? What comes out of the atrocity of Tivoli Gardens? And we're talking that we need to apologize for because of slavery. Yes, she needs to. But we need to clean our own backyard first.
Jeffrey, I support a republic, yes and no. Because the problem is we can't go into a republic with the same issues. I don't celebrate independence in Jamaica because we're not independent. Because I can't go into a courthouse and have to talk about long live the Queen. You understand me?
When I save the gracious Queen.
Yeah, when I sat on jury duty, I abstain. I told the judge I'm not gonna do it because I can't be in a so-called independent nation. And I'm saying long live the Queen to somebody who is sitting somewhere in Europe. Why should I do that? And
but
I'm
not only that,
independent.
Marcel. Sir Clark, not only that, I don't know if Sir Rattigan and Sir Herb know about this. Do you know that the Jamaican dollar is being printed in London by a company named De La Rosa Printing Company? Owned by the royal family?
I didn't know it was owned by the royal family, but I knew it was printed in England.
Yeah,
it is owned by the royal family.
And portions of it in Germany as well.
Yes. So if we're talking about we're gonna go republic. If we go republic, is it that the Jamaican are gonna stop printed in London? Are we gonna print our own money?
No, Jeffrey, don't forget. All the republics in the Caribbean are still a part of the Commonwealth.
Yes, I know that.
So if we're going to remain in the Commonwealth, then that means we can still get the benefits of being in the Commonwealth. The monies can be well, I mean, you know, the same thing. If Jamaica gets attacked by Cuba, we're gonna have to depend on the UK to defend us. Although we know it's gonna be the US gonna intercede first, right?
But hold on there. There's a video circulating in this country with a man walking around with a high-power rifle. A friend of mine, or maybe it was me who said it. It seems like Russia decided to invade us. So he decided to go to the Port Royal with all the cannons and the guns.
Yeah.
How can a man be walking around with a high-power rifle in a country?
Yep.
You know what's going on?
Yep.
Security in this country. You know, I said it already and I keep on saying it again. The criminals has become a clear and present danger to the national security of the citizens of this country. And I dare say, the two political parties is a clear and present danger to us.
Now, one of the things I propose, Jeffrey, it might seem inconsequential, but I'd ask the General Anderson and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to appoint key members of the diaspora with police backgrounds or intelligence backgrounds to be district constables. That would allow us to present bona fides to law enforcement here and cooperate with investigations. And when we go to Jamaica, allow us to do follow-up investigations without having to be bogged down with a whole lot of bureaucracy. If we can pull that off, then that means the diaspora can now play without having to go through Parliament. Right? We have to have that ability to be able to investigate, to develop cases, and to pass the information to the right person, if we can find the right person down in Jamaica. But it would give us the chance to take a look inside the palace and see what's going on. Whether it's the PNP palace or the JLP palace, it would give us that ability. And I think it's important that they grant us that. If they don't grant it to us, then there's no other way that we can take a look, except if we're talking to the FBI and to Homeland Security investigation.
Mr. Herb, and in case you're just joining us, listeners and viewers, we are here on a special edition of Make We Talk. We're speaking to former FBI agent and attorney at law, Mr. Wilfred Rattigan. We're speaking to Mr. Herb and also the chairman for the St. Thomas Crime Prevention Unit, Mr. Clark. We were talking about the security system in Jamaica and the corruption. We switched to a little thing and we're going back to it. But you know something, you're talking about them giving the diaspora a leeway to get into to do this and to do that. You remember when a former police officer from the Scotland Yard came to Jamaica and become assistant commissioner of police?
Well, you had 4 of them, don't forget.
Yes, 4 of them. Where are they now? Where are they now? And when they leave, what did they say to us? Mr. Rattigan, maybe you can answer that question for me.
I think all of them left except one person.
Mark Shields still there.
Yeah, and he's done quite well for himself, remaining in Jamaica.
Yeah, he has benefited from crime.
Is what?
He has benefited from crime. Because he started a security company and a security supply company.
Yeah, he's profiting from crime. That's what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And he's doing quite well, quite handsomely.
But Jeff, what did I say, Jeff? Remind me. What did I say before they left? The 3 who left. Actually, the 4 of them left and he returned.
If my memory serves me correctly, I think all of them were saying the same thing. The JSAF and the government is as corrupt as ever.
Yeah. Mark Shields gave an interview to a friend of mine, and he said that he wasn't given a clean slate to work with when he got to Jamaica, because and he detailed his experiences to my friend, and essentially he was saying that it's just a corrupt society. There are too many people at the top involved in corruption, and so it's difficult to fight because there's no will. And the people, we just accept. We cannot just sit back and just accept it. We talk about it, but we really don't do anything about it. And then the agencies and the structures that are there to protect us from this type of behavior, they're powerless too. There is nothing to show in terms of accomplishments. To
look at this. Look at what do they call it again? The oversight committee that look over the JCF when a crime is happening. What did they say? Indicom. They purposely, the powers may be under the former leader of the Labour Party and former Prime Minister Bruce Golding, who organized that thing. I think they purposely did this for Indicom not having the power, Indicom has no power at all. Does that make any sense?
They can investigate, but they can't arrest.
That make any sense?
None whatsoever.
Jeffrey, couple years ago, the Crime Prevention Committee used to host town hall meetings, and we'd bring powerful guests like the ombudsman. We brought Mark.
As far as me concerned, the office of the ombudsman don't make any sense either. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I brought Mark Shields one time, and I brought Justin Felice, which was he dealt with corruption and stuff like that. And when I brought Justin Felice, man, I got some backlash from the police. I mean, khaki suit and all right down because they knew what he was about. And he spoke about a former senior superintendent that has a security company now also. And he was speaking about the price of his house and so forth and so forth. But I got backlash personally because I brought him to one of those meetings and they didn't like it because he was against corruption. They all got frustrated. A lot of the information went around them. It didn't pass over their desk. They were isolated. So their hands were tied doing what they were doing. And look what they did with Mark Shields when he first came here. They baptized him in a shootout, you know, and he had to scour behind a car and hide, you know. But he turned that negative into a positive financial.
And
But
that begs to ask the question. If Wilfred Rattigan if they decide to give him commissioner of police, which of that, they're not going to do it because they know the type of person he is. So that means that if he should get the job as either commissioner or minister of national security, he has to have his own personal security details. None from this country.
I have them already, man. When I did apply for the job, I had a crew of I think it was about 10 people, some of them Jamaicans, but these are all guys with foreign law enforcement experience or military experience too. And the plan was each one of those guys would shadow a division. And that whoever's in charge of that division, whether it's training, investigations, admin, whatever, they would report to these guys. And some of these guys, they're bloodhounds. These are guys that I work with, some of them in inspections. And these guys don't miss anything. And the thing about it is that they don't know anybody in Jamaica. And them don't want to know nobody in Jamaica either. Them come for work. Like there was one guy who told me, he's an Egyptian guy. And he told me, he said, listen, I have a wife. I said, look, I'm putting in for this job and I'd love if you could come and, give us the benefit of your experience. And because I'd work with him in the Middle East. And he said, listen, don't worry about my family. You want to go home and help your country? I will come. And I will stay as long as it takes to clean up whatever you need to clean up before I come back to my family. Those are the kind of people, that I had around me that said, boy, yes, we're coming. And then I had some foreign governments who had made some commitments as well to training, for equipment and so on and so forth. So I wasn't coming to Jamaica asking the Jamaican government to provide me with resources. I already was bringing my own resources with me. But and what's interesting is both parties said, no, we don't want this guy. I've never been interviewed by the Police Services Commission, even though a former prime minister looked at my resume and said, this guy is the most qualified guy to ever apply for this position, but he will never get this job.
What's this, sir?
PJ said that.
PJ Patterson, yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could have told you.
Yeah.
I could have told you.
Are you still interested though?
No. What I'm interested in doing, one of the things about life is that you have to understand that if time doesn't stand still, and sometimes your time passes, and it's time for somebody else. What I'm inclined to do is I'm inclined to help. So whoever gets the job, and if they say, look, we need you to help us with your contacts, need us to help us with this or whatever that, I'll gladly do it because, like them say, the navel string cut at Jamaica, right? And so,
if Sir Rattigan,
and by the way, when PJ said that, is a friend of mine who told me somebody had a conversation with PJ, and he told me that PJ said that. PJ didn't tell me that directly. He mentioned that a friend of mine told me that he had a conversation, and
if you ask him now, so I can't recall like the former Minister of National Security who dead and gone. Anyway, if right now, if the current Minister of National Security, the Prime Minister, should reach out to you for advice or say to you, say, listen to me, we're having a problem. Can you come down? We're going to give you a 3-year contract. And put you in charge of MOC or put you in charge of some investigation thing of the JCF. would you accept it?
I'd give it serious thought. And I'll tell you why. Because over the years, because I retired in 2017. And I'm settled now practicing law. And I have two young ones. I have a son who's 10 and I have another son who's 8. Right?
Yes.
I have a young wife. So, I have to take care of all of them.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. But the thing is, my wife, she was recruited by the ANC in South Africa to go fight against the apartheid government. And she has relatives who fought and died. Some fought and lived. And she was recruited. And as they were smuggling her out of the country to go to, I think it's Zimbabwe, to train and then come back and carry out acts of insurrection against the government. And it was a passage of right, so to speak. Most of her family members had done it, or they were doing it. And it just so happened that as she was supposed to leave, that's when they started negotiating with Mandela. So when I told her, because she had heard all kinds of stories about Jamaica, when I told her, I said, look, I have to go back. And when I applied for the job, I said, I want to go back. And it's not because of the money, because the money is a pittance. I said, I just have a passion about going back and helping my people. I said, Jamaica made me what I am. And so I have no compunction about giving back. And she said to me, listen, I know what it is to fight in a struggle. So this is a struggle and it's your country. And you want to go home and help your fellow countryman and countrywoman, go. She said, I won't go with you, but know that I fully support you going. I'll never stop you from going. So if somebody should ask me now and say, yeah, you want to come back, and if you want to come back and if you want to do this, and, we'll give you a contract, as per your question, I would give it serious consideration. But then the thing about it is that I would have to have a team, because one man can't really fight a force of corruption and evil and crime in Jamaica. So, while one man can take one step, it's difficult for one man to complete the journey. So I would have to tell him, look, I'll take this job, but I'll take this job on the condition that I can take people with me, like Herb, for example, right? My Egyptian friend, I know he would come. I have another guy out in Phoenix. I have a guy in Jersey. I have 2 guys in South Africa, right? And so on and so forth. If they'll allow me to do that, I guarantee, and I'll tell them that, listen, if you give me 1 year, you give me a 3-year contract, but if I don't make Jamaica a better place in 1 year, you don't have to worry about the second year. You don't have to worry about me in the second year and the criticisms. That's how confident I am that we can make a difference in
But
Jamaica.
how can you make a difference when you have a justice system and a JCF that is so corrupt? It is corrupt from the bottom straight down to the top. From the top straight down to the bottom, rather.
All right, give an example. Like Herb just mentioned, right? Herb, well, not just about 2 hours ago, but Herb mentioned that, you do put the fusion center in Cornwall, Middlesex, sorry. So you know what I get rid of? I get rid of the high command. All of them guys occupying the seats up on Whole Up Road there, and I get the fat salary. I don't need them, because I go and move it out and move command and control out into the 3 counties. So every morning at 8 o'clock now, for example, Herb and I would sit down, because we don't need them. And then every morning at 8 o'clock, they have to call in on a video conference. Man from Cornwall calling, and we say, okay, what happened in the last 24 hours? What's going to happen in the next 24 hours? Tell us what your schedule is. Tell us what your initiatives are. Tell us what happened. What are you going to do? And the day that I have to tell him what's going on in his county, that's the day I don't need him. That's the day now I'm going to move him now to put him in charge of traffic, or put him in charge of the horses or the band or something else. I don't need him. If I have to tell you what's going on in your county, then I don't need you, right? And that's what you need. You need somebody who's strict, somebody who's going to hold them accountable. For example, policeman can't sleep on the street, can't drink on the street. Them can't drink while I'm on duty, And no, you see policeman stop on them going there. And I tell you what happened. I guarantee you that I will get the Federation support. And I guarantee you that the good cops would have rat out the bad cops. Because once them see that somebody is passionate about the job, somebody knows what he's doing, somebody cares about them. For example, policeman can't get 70,000 Jamaican dollar a month for lift pan. Oh, that will work. That can't work. That can't work. So what have to happen is that you have to have somebody from the JCF who is tracking bills in Parliament that affect them. You have to have that. You have to have your own. It may be a 2-man shop or a 3-man shop, but you have to have people who are draft legislation and help the Minister of National Security formulate policies. You have to have that. You can't have him and then him bringing these nincompoops around him. And how you can't have a military man run. This is a third experiment them try with the military people in Jamaica. Third, and every single one of them feel. This one I feel more miserable than the others, right? Every single one of them feel because the mission different, the training different, the structure different, the everything different. I know you're bringing me in. You know, you bring in somebody with international experience, like me, not necessarily me, but somebody like me.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're going to catch the ear of the good cops, I'm going to say this is a refreshing change because we've never had somebody from outside the country with international experience who can come in and can share some of these things with us. Because there's nothing going on in terms of crime in Jamaica where I haven't seen elsewhere. And that's where the intelligence piece comes in, because you have something called where you look across the globe at trends and see what's going on, and you can prepare for it before it comes, right? So even if it doesn't come, that's fine, but you have something on the shelf that if it should have come, you can deal with it. Jamaica, the JCF is by and large still in a reactive mode. Something have to happen and them show up, right?
You know,
most police departments move on to proactive and predictive. That's what I mean to do. They need to get into that mode where you start collect intelligence, and they mix up intelligence and information, and they're two different things. I hear them talk, oh, we had intelligence. No, somebody tell you something. Somebody tell you, say the man run the sub, bear the gun on at the full cup, and you go. That's not intelligence, that's information. Intelligence is something completely different. Intelligence, you have to follow the steps that Herb outlined earlier.
And the reason why somebody tell them that, Wilfred, is because they didn't get the cut.
Right.
The money that they promised. That's the only reason why that information coming. It never come from a genuine source. It's just a backlash to something, you understand me? And really and truly, the intelligence arm of the force is not working. Right now, there's a situation happening. There's a guy, he gathers intelligence, do a 10-year service, and he can't get a promotion, and the money that he's getting, him can't pay him bills. So he's looking to go to Turks and Caicos to go work. One of the best police that has interest in policing. And a lot of them are leaving because of that. The good police are leaving and leaving the corrupt ones. So it's going to get worse.
Another area that you have to look at is when these guys get sick or injured, that it's a major issue because the medical is not very good. You know, and you can't have police out there just doing the job at half speed because they fear getting injured.
In addition to that, Herb, you have policemen out there working 6 days a week, 12, 14, 16 hours. How you expect a certain level of proficiency when you have that?
That's what I want to ask you about, Sir Rattigan. If they, as I said before, should ask you for some advice, how would you advise them pertaining to, because the security, the police force is what? Is only 10,000 strong?
Yeah, about 10,000.
Yes, in a population of nearly 3.8 million people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How would you tell them now to go and recruit more police officers? And one more thing, Roots FM, I think it was Roots FM, my program did a program, and it was some gangs from El Salvador. El Salvador police force lock up over 6,000 gang members.
Right.
No, it's up to 19,000 now.
There you go. How much have we locked up in this country?
Well, look, in terms of recruit, I don't know if you heard the story about the 10 officers identified by the JDF, they're JCF officers, and they're all, some of them, they're still on the 2-year probation. And they identify them, I don't know how or for what purpose, but they identify them, and then they send them to money training, for training course. And they came out, and all 10 of them got promoted to assistant superintendent. You never hear that story? Yeah, man. And the foundation got upset because the foundation is saying, how could this happen? We have people waiting for years to get promoted, And some of these guys still on probation. Still on probation, and they get
Politics.
so that's one of the things. If you know, you have to start the recruiting thing. The recruiting thing, I would have to the recruiting thing is serious, because what would happen is that, you know, garbage in, garbage out. And when I say that, I don't mean literal. I'm just saying, if you have bad cops, if you hire bad cops, don't think that they're going to turn into good cops. They won't. They're going to be worse cops, right? So, like the FBI, for example, the FBI, when I was hired, I think they were taking one out of like every 5,000 applicants, right? And they have their own way of recruiting people, and the stuff that they put you through, right? It's extremely difficult, because they know what they're looking for, and they know the type of person, and they have a brand to protect. So they're not going to take every Tom, Dick, and Harry, because they say, look, we have a brand to protect. And once they hire you and you turn bad, I mean, God help you, because they make an object lesson out of you, because they said, we have to protect the brand. So they make sure that, like, for example, if you get caught selling drugs or committing some crime, I mean, you're going to prison, and you're going to prison for a long time, because they have to protect the brand. And they said that 96% of the people who join the FBI make it a career. 96%. When I joined, 96%, the stat was 96% of them, they take it all the way through to 20 years. All the way through. And part of that is because they pay you a decent salary so you can pay your bills. So they said, look, you have no excuse to go out and start, you know, committing all kinds of crime.
If you, and I'm going to ask Sir Herb this question too, and if Sir Clark is listening, ask him the same question. They ask you to give advice to the JCF. How much do you think a member of the JCF should get as their salary? Sir Herb?
If I'm looking at Jamaica expense wise, I have a hard time on my retirement making it in Jamaica. So if a member of the JCF down there should not be making anything below the equivalent of $3,000 US. And I know that's a start. They should get allowances for family members, and they should have like a 401k program that they can invest in addition to whatever retirement they have. Because retirement is useless, right? I see people down there retired, they're getting 50,000 Jamaican dollars a month. I say, wait, how much is the 50,000 again? Because it is mind-boggling that
That's about
you can
5,000. That's about
retire.
500 US.
Yeah. And how can you retire on that when you couldn't survive when you were getting 2-3 times that amount? How are you going to survive when you get much less? And those are the folks that you would depend on to build up the confidence of the community, to participate in community activity and social, do social work as a retiree. And then you probably could give them a stipend for that or extra money. But it shouldn't be anything less than $3,000 to start. And if I'm not mistaken, it's what is that? About how much is that?
3,000 US?
Yeah.
It's about 400,000 Jamaican dollars.
Yeah. 450,000 more like it.
Depends on the exchange rate.
Yeah. And if they're only making 70,000, you sending them out to accept graft and other corruptive activities. Right? Now listen to this. When there was a couple classes 2 years ago, when they started the polygraph for the class, each class, over 80% of them failed the polygraph. And it turned out some of them had belonged to gangs. Now, if you find somebody belong to a gang, the natural tendency is to kick them out.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote a note to one senior superintendent down there. I said, look, don't kick out all of them. Vet them and see who is willing to be flipped. Then you send them back to rejoin the gang. The gang won't know the difference. And everything the gang does, you're documenting it from there on. Much like what you see Klansmen going through now, where they are the guy documenting all activities every day. You have to know how to have your confidential sources and build that up. And that's something that's not happening in Jamaica. I tell some of them officers down there, if you had confidential sources, I don't know how you'd manage, because you probably end up getting them all killed. You know, they're so sloppy, it's ridiculous.
Sir Clark?
I know for a fact that persons are leaving the JCF for employment in other islands where they get a salary that is quite hefty. It's they can come back home and retire after a few years. That's how good the salary is. I don't
Because
know the exact figure.
I know most of them are going to the Cayman Islands.
Yes, a lot of them go to the Cayman Islands.
Turks and Caicos,
Turks
Cayman,
and Caicos, sir.
St. Lucia. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I
Living
think
conditions
Antigua
are
also.
much better.
Antigua is also in it too.
Yeah.
So that means Sir Clark and Sir Rattigan soon come back. That means that the government of Jamaica, whether the JLP or the PNP, has no intention of fighting crime in Jamaica then. If they can't build the morale of the security forces, they have no intention of fighting crime in Jamaica then.
And that's what I've been trying to say to you all along. Crime pays. And that's why Mark Shields was able to stay in Jamaica and is earning, I guess, eat a nice piece of food. You know what I'm saying? He's eating a good piece of the pie from the proceeds of what crime produces, because security companies are launching every day, numerous security companies. Right now in St. Thomas, there are a security company this year. I don't know where they're going to get work for keep them lucrative. But they're farming.
And some of these security forces owned by politicians. Go ahead.
Yep.
Yes, it is so. It is so. And that's where the problem is, because nobody wants to put a stop to crime or to diminish the level of crime that is here in Jamaica, because somebody is benefiting. And these are some of the same people that donate to some of these political parties and show big balls and dinners and stuff like that for fundraisers. And they throw big money in the coffers because they know that they need them to keep the crime level up. Do you know that there's a certain security company that hires off-duty police and give them a car for drive with AC up and down in a Beverly Hills and Jacksonville and them places and pay them very good money?
I beg your
Very
pardon?
good money. I know people that are doing it. And they are cops off-duty.
Is that permitted under the JCF rules and regulation?
Yeah, there's contracts between guardsmen, marksmen, as well as King Alarm and the JCF. And that
What?
they cut their officers a lot of slack.
So who is fighting crime?
So hold on a minute there now. So if the JCF is giving the private security companies, no, if the JCF is giving their police personnel authority or go ahead to go and do a little job on the side for the security companies.
We call it moonlighting. It's more the National Security Ministry doing it.
So who is fighting crime in our country?
It's very profitable for crime in Jamaica. That's why some people don't want the status quo to change. You have to understand that. If you clean up everything.
In other words, when you have a prime minister who comes out and said that tomorrow morning I'm going to sleep with the door open and whatever, it's just pure hypocrisy then.
It was lying from the get-go. from the get-go. He knew that could never happen.
So because he wants to win an election, the two political parties playing with the life and security of the people of Jamaica.
Yep. That was never intended. Jamaica, the way it is, a lot of people like it that way because they're making out like bandits.
Lord. So Rattigan, I never get the answer from you pertaining to the how much do you think that the JCF person should be getting, Sir Rattigan? As a former FBI agent and attorney at law, if you were the Minister of National Security, well, I should, like I say, in security, not in justice and in security. If you were the Minister of National Security, or said they asked you to advise them, how much do you think a member of the JCF should get for the salary to go home with?
Yeah. The first thing I would do is I would consult with the Federation and then consult with certain economists to figure out cost of living, expenses, and so on and so forth. I wouldn't just come up with a raw number. I would talk to the members and say, okay, how much is it gonna cost for you guys to survive? Not even survive, to live. Because some of these people, they have 3, 4, 5 children, right? And if forget about the ones who are not married and my baby mother. And then you have to talk to the economists and factor in inflation and all that stuff so that you get to a salary that can pay the bills. The one thing we know for sure is that what they're making now can't do it. We know that. Cannot do it. And you're actually forcing them, although it's a crime, but you're actually forcing them to commit criminal activity to supplement their income. So it's almost as if we're creating the problem that we're asking them to solve. And what they're doing is they're creating an even bigger problem because they're not solving the problem. They're becoming part of the problem. But again, this by no means is a stain against the entire JCF, because I know some outstanding crime fighters in the JCF. And I dare say that the majority of those people, they're hardworking, dedicated public servants. It's just you have a few people who just make it bad for everybody else. And you know how it is, right? We never focus on the total good. We focus on the few bad. Right. And so we said the whole of them still, but it's not the whole of them. But again, you cannot expect these people to live a decent life, when you're paying them pittance. And then you talk about, oh, we want to make Jamaica a place where you can Vision 2030, a place where you can invest, raise a family, and so on and so forth. What about
no? I think the Prime Minister and the GG mean vision backwards of 1830. Listen, because I was just told by Sir Heard and Sir Clark that I didn't know that the JCF members were allowed to work with private security companies.
I can find out for you right now. Hold on. Oh, he's not a, because I have a friend of mine who's a police officer who just called me, but he's not on the line right now. But yeah, it's hold on. Hey, the King. I'm going to find out for you right now.
Yes.
The King, let me ask you a question.
Put your mic on mute. Put your mic on mute.
Oh, hold on.
We're here speaking to former FBI agent, attorney at law, Wilfred Rattigan, Mr. Herb, Mr. Marcel Clark from the Crime Prevention Unit in St. Thomas, the chairman for the St. Thomas Crime Prevention Unit. We're talking about the JCF. We're talking about the political atmosphere in Jamaica, the corruption in our country, the corruption in the JCF, and also what is a livable wage for the members of the JCF, because the members of the JCF don't get a proper salary. Yet politicians can go into parliament and raise their salary to 100%. While the security forces who secure them don't get nothing. Mr. Herb?
That's true. You do need to show respect to those people whose life is in your hand, is in their hands. And the same thing that you have respect you show for nurses, doctors, you have to treat security is a big deal in the US and around the world. And security people are being paid huge six-figure salaries all over the world. So you need to be secure in your home. You need to be secure on the street. You need to be secure if you break down somewhere along a country road. You need to know where you are and need to know you're never in danger. And until Jamaica can give everybody the prime mission of the government is the security of its people, financially,
You know,
physically, and otherwise.
I always say this, There's four things that I always say when I was doing political science in school. I always say this, and I keep on saying it. If a government cannot provide one, security for its people, two, education, three, health, and four, job, there is something fundamentally wrong with the governing of the country.
Yep. You hit the nail on the head right there.
And housing too.
Housing.
My brethren just tell me that moonlighting, you can moonlight as a JCF member, but you have to get permission from the commissioner's office. Otherwise, it's not allowed. You cannot you cannot have a side job or a second job without going through the commissioner's office and explaining what. And it's the same thing with the FBI too. You cannot have a second job or a part-time job or whatever. You must go through them and say, look, this is what I want to do, and they either they grant it or they don't grant it. If you want to be a lifeguard, for example, they'll more than likely they'll say yes. If you say you want to be a security guard, they're gonna say no.
But I don't think, honestly, if you are a JCF personnel, I think you should just remain a JCF personnel.
But how you gonna survive on a salary there?
So in other words, Mr. Rattigan, in other words, it makes no sense for us to have a police service then. What we should do then is have the JDF to do everything then. Are they paying the JDF members any better salary? I doubt it too.
I don't know about salary, but
I doubt that.
I don't know that. But the facilities are better. You know what I mean? The facilities are better where they are, as opposed to with the police. You see some of the police.
It's a different kind of pressure though with the military. Now there's some military people that they turn into constables, and that they train them as officers, because when they go around, you have to have that official background to make an arrest and to determine certain things. Or else with the army, they would just end up just blowing everybody away. So the bottom line is you have to have somebody who can adjudicate each situation. Things are just out of control when it comes to finances for these officers, for the police officers as well as the army folks. They're never paid enough. They don't have good medical plans. If you have a family, think about having a family and you need more medical and you need more coverage. When they tell you only your first 5 medications are covered, or they say, well, you can't have that medication, it's too expensive. There's all kinds of stuff wrong with that. And a lot of the medications you have, the modern medications for high blood pressure, for high blood sugar, are much more costly because they're a lot more modern than the other stuff that they used to get 5-10 years ago. You're gonna, the government is gonna be very costly to the government. So
Yeah, what I was gonna say is that tell you how bad it is. Do you know, and this is coming from the police commissioner's mouth, do you know that not all policemen can take the weapons home? So you have the weapon and you go on duty, and when it's time for you to come off duty, you have to leave it at the station and go home.
And he made that public and public radio and
Said
TV.
that on Nationwide in an interview with Cliff Hughes this year. And and that was confirmed with friends of mine in the JCF. They said, yeah, not everybody can, them not have enough guns to give the people them.
Jeffrey.
So hold on, Sir Clark. I'm gonna get talk. Hold on, I'm gonna make it talk. So you're saying to me, when the Prime Minister and the Minister of National Security and Justice is saying to the people of Jamaica that they have spent that this is the only government that is investing in the JCF and the JDF.
No.
It's a bunch of lies then.
Well, you can call it that, or you can call it misrepresentation, or you can call it not in adherence to the truth. You can call it anything, but the fact of the matter is that they have policemen who, when the shift is over, they have to leave the guns in the police station and go home unprotected or unarmed.
And if he's gonna go on national radio and say something like that,
yeah,
that means he's saying to the criminals of the country, gun them down.
Yeah. Look, think about it. Like, if you kill an FBI agent, you might as well kill yourself, because they're not going to stop until they catch you. They're not going to stop until they catch you. If you kill an NYPD cop, you might as well kill yourself too, because they're not going to stop until they catch you, right? You kill a Jamaican cop is nothing. Like I said, you stand a 9 out of 10 chance of being exonerated. No, you have to put that in practice, that, listen, if you kill a policeman, hell, you'll have to pay. You will have to pay. But life doesn't mean anything, and then also you have, because of some of the bad policemen, you have people just mix everybody together, and so they have no respect, because they say all of them are criminal, so there's no respect there. And then the good cops, they get tarnished with the acts of the bad cops. And it's just, life just goes on. But if you can instill in the people of Jamaica that, listen, we are here to serve, protect, and reassure. And if you plan to kill somebody, better not be a cop. Better not be a cop. Because if you do, they'll be held to pay. I mean, what you remember, I don't know if you remember this, Herb, the guy who killed a DEA agent in an undercover. This happened decades ago out in Staten Island. And what happened? Because you cannot eliminate crime, you can't control it. So what some of the agencies do is that they know that certain guys doing certain things, and they just allow it, because some of these guys are actually informants. They're actually sources. And when they killed that guy, we all knew that that guy was going to die, because what was going to happen is that the criminal element, they wouldn't protect him, because guess what? All criminal activity was shut down. So nobody can make any more money. Everything shut down. And then next thing you know, you get a phone call saying, hey, this guy you're looking for, go to the airport and check the trunk, and you find the guys.
So that means why you have corrupt members of the JCF. They're underpaid, they're overworked. And that is why when certain operation is going on, the criminals don't know that the operation is going to go on.
Yeah. Plus, don't forget, you have the government to announce it, Like the other day, they announced that, oh, we're going to send a battalion out to the western end of Jamaica. We're going to curfew. Just like when they do the Zozo, they announce it in advance. Oh, we're coming next week. What kind of stupidity is that? By the time you get there, all the guns, are hidden, and all the bad guys are gone.
It's the same way, I keep on saying it, And I think I had made a statement to the former member of parliament for Western Westmoreland. And I said to them that if you are going to put a Zozo in the western part of Jamaica, you all have to have the JDF helicopters in the air. Reasons being, between Westmoreland, Hanover, and St. James, it's pure cane field.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're gonna just block off the main roads, what about the cane roads? You have Williamsfield, Fort William, with 100 and something acres of land between the late Custis of the parish of Westmoreland, the present Custis, and other members of another family who has cane field there. And it's Barber Green Road. So when you block off a certain part and say, okay, I'm trying to figure out, do they really want to fight crime in our country? The question has to be asked over and over again.
No, because look, here's another crime that they don't want to fight. Bringing in a contraband, like some of these illegal cigarettes coming in from China, right? You find them being sold in the garrisons, the cheap cigarettes, right? No, the health department, they haven't done a study of the components or the ingredients in these cigarettes, because the Chinese, they use anything and make everything, right? And we don't know what the health effects are, but they bring them in and they sell them cheap. No, you won't find somebody from uptown selling those cigarettes, but we know that the guy who's selling the cigarette is not the guy who brought in that container. Right?
And that begs to ask the question, what is the Port Authority of Jamaica doing? And when the government is going to give Chinese nationals a leeway, in other words, they can come in, don't pay no taxes or nothing. To me, and I dare say this, to me it seems as if majority of the Chinese nationals have some security forces in their pocket.
Jeffrey?
Go ahead.
Yes, I'm traveling, so I just want to get in some quick points because the service.
We're gonna come off soon anyhow, because I see Sir Herb traveling too, and you're gonna travel, so we're gonna come off soon.
All right, let me first. One of the things I see the finance minister announced the other day, that he's removing that concession that a lot of police benefit from to drive decent vehicles. Removing that is another it's just discouraging a cop from staying in Jamaica and working. You know what I mean? It's really an injustice to them, because a lot of them have bought cars through that means. The gun thing, in terms of, it's called keep and care. It's not every cop is allowed to keep and care. That's been a forced policy for years. And one of the reasons also is that there's a serious shortage of guns. If you doubt it, just wait till Christmas season for the grand markets and watch when the police flood the streets. Only for them walk with button alone and an empty holster, no holster. A lot of them do that. And I have always said, when I see it, even when it's not the silly season, and I see cops come out, even to do regular business and in uniform, but no gun. But did you know that the gun is a part of the uniform? That's when you're fully uniformed in the GSF. And when I cop,
go ahead.
When a cop walk out on the street in uniform without a gun, say him walking out of a bank and there's a robbery going in progress, wait till the gunman going to shoot first. And the cop him want to shoot first, because he's expecting him to respond accordingly. So when him don't have a weapon in his holster, he's a target. And that's a thing that I think the GSF needs to stamp out, where cops come on the street in uniform without a gun, whether for their own personal business or on patrol. It's dangerous. But there's a serious shortage of weapon in the force.
No, 1 second, Marcel. So tell me now, where the Minister of National Security do with the $1.something billion when get for fight crime?
That's a question I was asking you and Sir Herb earlier on.
Yeah, and that is, I'm talking about US dollars now.
Yes, I know.
Okay. When do we that money there?
Wilfred, there's a serious problem with accounting. There's
no accountability for nothing in this country, no.
That's serious problem, because I know there's a lot of money that come here from the US.
The JCF alone, as I recall, 4 years ago was getting at least 55 million. I'm sure that's up to over 60 million now. Right? And I know that they got extra money because of COVID.
You're talking US or Jamaica?
US,
man.
US. Yes.
Greenback, Uncle
So
Sam.
yeah. So when you're looking at the totality of the situation, the US wants Jamaica to be the shining example on the hill for the rest of the Caribbean. That's when Trump was in, he called a meeting and 6 Caribbean islands show up. The rest of them say go to hell, right? Because they didn't want to support Trump at all. They didn't like him. And they knew that he had a corrupt bunch around him. It's Jamaica's corruption that caused Jamaica to be pushed aside. NIA lost their funding, you remember? Because NIA was on top of things, looking for the opposition and the PM to file financial declarations, which they refused.
Hold on for me, Sir Herb.
Yeah.
The NIA that is chaired by Professor
What's his name? Trevor Monroe.
Yes, they lost their funding.
They lost their funding. Yes. They and guess what? They were getting straight A's, outstanding on their corruption, anti-corruption practices. And they needed more funding. I was pushing for them to get additional funding and to be the centerpiece for CARICOM to produce the same programs that they have. I think it's very important for CARICOM to join in with Jamaica. So far, only Guyana and I believe Trinidad has similar programs, but not as aggressive as Jamaica. And Jamaica can teach all of them how to do things right. Now, think about this. The Integrity Commission, on the other hand, is just about scandalous because they have reports that we gave them on members of the ruling party, and they have not acted on it. And in addition to that, we are aware of another case where members have been to them from different organizations and complained. Whistleblower Act cover them. But what happened is there are leaks within that organization, the Integrity Commission, and they're the ones with the power to arrest and to take people to court and sue them. But it's not working because they've just they're watered down pretty much, you know. And Will should comment on them.
So let me ask a question. Will you gonna come in now?
Yeah.
Does it make any sense for us to have a National Integrity Commission headed by Professor Trevor Monroe when from its existence, have they locked up anybody and charged anybody?
Look, my issue with this all of these commissions and all of these agencies, and they're all looking at one issue, right? They're looking at corruption. And you can't tell me that all of these people looking at this thing, you know, they still like I said, they can't put people behind bars, right? And they have overlap. And also in addition to overlap, you don't have any confidentiality. Like a lot of them will tell you, oh, whatever you tell me is confidential. And then the next thing you know, I have a case right now where a guy went to one of those agencies and he spilled the beans. And they said everything is in confidence. The next day he got a call from a MP saying, hey, I saw the report that you provided to these guys, you know, what are you doing? Right? And you start to yourself say, how can people feel safe and secure in the knowledge that whatever I give to these agencies, right, that it will be kept confidential and my life will be, you know, my life is in safe hands? No. You know, one of the things about the FBI, we don't lose informants. And we don't, and information, we protect people and we protect information. And all of these agencies that you're talking about, some of them are well-meaning, but they're paper tigers. They're paper tigers. They don't have any bite. They can't do anything. And so they'll come out with a report, or they'll do a little press conference, and they'll make the headlines, and then tomorrow it's back to business as usual.
So does it?
You cannot tell me that with almost 3 million people and with the level of corruption, that you can find somebody to make an example out of, somebody of importance in the community. When I say important, significant, somebody who occupy a significant office. You can look at what happened with Royal Reed and all of those people.
There
right?
you go. There you go. Walk away with a fat salary.
You know, and when all is said and done, no, them not go jail. Them not go jail. And then we wonder why is it that the Jamaican students now, they're not like the students of 20, 30 years ago. You have people graduating now who can barely read and write, right? And then the money that came in from, some of it came in from the diaspora to help with education in Jamaica. That money ended up in somebody's pocket.
Yeah, because isn't the Ministry of Education, Sir Clark, maybe you can come in this one. Isn't the Ministry of Education under some investigation now?
Yeah, that's what I was referring to earlier. That he came to the US, toured the US, and then he transferred some money that he collected here back to a certain fund, education fund. And then when he got back to Jamaica, he tried to transfer the money out of that fund to his personal account. And that's when the employees raised hell and they blocked it. So that's why he's in so much hot water. But nothing is happening because he's trying to get the Privy Council to overturn the charges. It's ridiculous what's going on. That they can play the long game. The man has gone from one term, he's in the second term now as the Prime Minister, and he's not in jail yet. If he was here, he would be in jail. Both he and the other one from MSET with the missing barrels of oil and other chicanery that they were pulling at MSET, they both would be in jail up here.
Well, let me tell you something, Mr. Tavares. If I were the police commissioner, I can tell you right now that a lot of those politicians would be in prison. And you know why? One of the things that I had proposed with my little team is that, look, if we get to go, one of the first things we're going to do, we're going to look at donor funds. We're going to go back like maybe 5-10 years and look at funds coming in from America, England, the UK, Germany, Canada. Right. And then we're also going to look at funds coming in from the EU, from the UN, and so on and so forth. Right. And then we're gonna bring in some forensic accountants who they will follow the money. Yeah. And then what we're gonna do, we're gonna find out where this money went. If this money came in to do a particular project, we're gonna find out whether or not the money actually went.
As you talk about that, you know, today I heard the Minister of Labour said something in Parliament that I don't know how much funds that they gave to the members of the constituency, the MPs, and some of them haven't spent the money. Yet he's gonna give them more money and money they never spend. So what happened?
See, what happened in the US government, and Herb can attest to this, is that if you get, based on the budget, if you get $1, right, you submit a budget because everything is done the year before, right? So you submit the budget and then you get the money to spend it the following year, right? And so if you get $1 and you spend 50 cents and you put in the budget that you want to get $1.50, you know you're not getting not even $1 because they're going to go back and say you only spent 50 last year, 50 cents. So we're going to slash your budget, right? But you're right. How is it that you can give somebody money to spend? The money don't spend and then you're going to give them more money on top of that.
And that's the question. There's no accountability in the constituency fund that is being given to members of parliament. There's no accountability. I took my 2 ears today and heard Minister Carl Samuda say that he knows he gives some of the constituency money, some of them don't spend it. But there's some more funds to be given. So I don't understand.
Well, is that the same man who allegedly he purchased or he took some grass or something like that? I'd heard something to that effect. That this is a guy who took some grass that was supposed to be going elsewhere, and he diverted it to his farm.
Sir Clark, you can answer that one.
Yes,
Marcel.
the same minister is talking. There was a report in the papers about some grass, missing grass or something, or went to somewhere else other than where it was designated for.
Yeah, and it
Yes.
went to, yeah, because I actually drove past the farm and somebody pointed out that this, and I saw the grass. They said, you see all this grass? This is the grass that was supposed to go somewhere else, and it ended up on his property.
Ah, boy.
Gentlemen, we could stay here all night and talk about the corruption in Jamaica. As what the late Buster Manty said, from top to bottom corrupt. You know?
Wilfred.
Yes, sir.
Herb, just look at me.
Yeah.
Just look at me.
We
It's what
can't
I
see you.
Hold
You're
on,
black
hold
like
on,
midnight.
hold on.
Yeah, man.
Oh.
Yeah, man. 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 Yeah,
Yes.
man. We'll talk to, yeah, man. Yeah, man. We'll talk to my man.
Oh, Jeffrey, let me give you an update quickly.
Mhm.
I actually on the eastern bound leg of the license road. It seems as if what we had discussed Sunday and today has
Mhm.
brought about some change. There is
That's good.
some scraping on the road, and they dropped some of the same old asphalt, repurposed asphalt on
Mhm.
those sections that was it's a bit bumpy, but it can drive on. And that's
That's
what we've been
good.
asking for, is proper surface to drive on. I don't know how far it's gone because I stopped on the way. But there is some improvement. That's why the gentleman said to you that he's gonna be doing a meeting before he can come on or whatever.
Because
The gentleman.
the call that I made, the person said to me, said, Jeffrey, get yourself involved. I said, shut your mouth. The people that need help, will stop on the nonsense.
No. I know that's what some of it's triggering from. And the media attention has been very good. I haven't seen them physically here. I see them taking clips from persons here and broadcasting. But they have interviewed quite a number of persons in the parish. Even Diane Jackson Miller, which she used to live here, went to high school here. She interviewed a taxi friend of mine on all angles yesterday. So
Well,
the information is getting out.
I am happy that, the Make We Talk program could do something, to assist the people of St. Thomas. And I hope that Sir Rattigan and Sir Herb can let the Make We Talk program go wide in the diaspora.
Yes, I support that. Let me say this, gentlemen and Jeffrey. I've been on your show quite a few times, and you know I appreciate your show. You call a spade a spade. You're not afraid to step on a foot and a can. You know, care over so foot you hurt up. You just start the thing. Sometimes you get excited, yes, but it's because of your passion for our country, Jamaica, why you speak so passionately and you put yourself out there. And I know personally that you get some phone calls to rip you up and to shut you up and to reprimand you. And after it wear off, you come back and you go back to square one. And I must commend you, sir. I must commend you before the nation of Jamaica and whoever is listening at whatever point. I must commend you, sir, because I don't see any other media person that stick their necks out like you. And you and I are in a particular group, and they bash us because we speak a particular way. We stand up for the
Thank
truth.
you.
And we're not afraid of nobody. We're not afraid of no girl, no boy, no picnic.
Nowhere.
Yeah, not even no farmer police we're not afraid of.
No,
You
no,
understand?
no, no. You're gonna chatting and blowing in the face.
Exactly.
Before-
But the truth is, sir, and that is why I've never told you no. I don't remember. I must be something that is pressing that I can't come on.
True. You have you have never told me no to come on the program. That's true.
Yes. And it's because I have a passion for my country. I have a passion for my parish. I have children. I have a daughter that I love to death. Well, daughters, but my last child, I do everything for her when she was 3 months. So, and I am worried about her coming up in this Jamaica. My other kids are over 18, so them past the worst. But I am nervous about. I'm nervous about my grandchildren. What will be in store for them? How will they fit into this new type of Jamaica? Because I don't know this one. I really don't know. How will they fit in? How will they survive? What direction will they take? Because I see a red eye mentality in Jamaica. I see a get rich quick scheme that they just launch and birth every day. How do I prevent them from taking that bait or going in that direction? What can I do to turn Jamaica around? I may not get it done, but at least I will die trying. I'm in a plan for death till 125 and more. You understand me? Because I see the promises in the scriptures. So I plan to be here for a long time. But what can I leave as a legacy? What can I contribute to bring back that old time Jamaica where we could have sleep out that door? We could have put all my things out that door. You know, in Cuba, if a taxi man drive bad, him not a taxi man tomorrow morning. You understand me? If a politician is not performing, he don't have to wait till the election that is for 5 years for him to be voted out. An election can be called and at
It
any
is it
minute.
on our present constitution it can be done, but they're not looking into it. We don't do it.
Exactly. So there's things that I think Trevor Manum did some work with the Integrity Commission, yes, but I think he was a wrong choice. He has too many strings attached, east, west, north, and south. I can understand why he was looked at, but I think
Politics.
yeah, I think he was the wrong choice. There's a gentleman that used to be some oversight body. He's at another agency now. We can't remember the guy name. He used to ball out the corruption when PMP was in government, man.
Greg Christie.
Yes.
But yeah, Greg Christie's back as head of the Integrity Commission,
Ah,
right? That's the one with the power.
yes.
Dr. Monroe with the National Integrity Action Agency,
Mm.
he is more a civilian type body.
Oh,
He doesn't have any real power.
okay.
So it's
I'm
Greg
going to give you a story.
Christie
You see?
who's supposed to have all the power.
I'm going to give you a story about corruption in Jamaica. Some years
You only have
ago,
2 minutes, Steve. They don't have 2 minutes, Steve, Mr. Clark,
yeah,
because
man, that quick
I
one.
think so Herb is heading home driving, and I don't like he's driving, and
Mm.
and so Rattigan look like he wants to go and have another drink of the drunk bro.
You can't drink it around. All right. Um, a farmer, what him name, custom broker, told me
Mhm.
a story that happened on the wharves where they installed some cameras to monitor illicit activities and so forth. And it caught two goodly gentlemen in a sexual act. And that was the last of the cameras. You
My
understand me?
lord.
You understand me? And
Is that a Jamaica eye you're talking about?
no, not Jamaica Eye. It was in the wharves. They had installed the cameras. Regular security cameras.
Oh, okay.
And they never worked again. And one man was busting a corruption thing on the wharf, and his a container drop on him and flat him out. The wharf is very corrupt. And that's a very hard place to police or to put some semblance of order. Because
I
if
I
you
I
don't
I I want to say good afternoon or good evening to my good friend King Steve Hessin from the Taxes Association. He said on the YouTube platform that can we find more Jamaicans who work as FBI agents?
there's a whole host of them. There's a lot of them that I know of. A
So
lot of them.
Rattigan, you have a final word to say, sir, before we go off?
Yeah, man. I know I work with a few of them. But again, they would love to come home, but when they see the politics and the corruption and all that stuff, they're dissuaded by it, and they move on to if they're retired, they move on to other things. If they're not retired, they continue working. But everything starts with, I think, two things. Starts with the political will and starts with leadership. if you don't have good people in those positions, then don't expect anything to change in Jamaica. It's just gonna be more of the same. And we can talk till we're blue in the face, unless we can get the ear of somebody else. And I like Marcel's advice when he said, "Listen, you need to let them know that we wield a big stick with our remittances, and if you guys don't make changes, we're gonna at least make a sacrifice and not send stuff home for a year, at least to see how that works out. Because I think we sent something like $2.9 billion,
Here,
billion
yes.
with a, yeah, US, yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that, and I won't make it to the biennial diaspora conference. I think Herb will be there, and you, Mr. Host, you should be there as well because I love your
I
passion.
am invited, but I don't think I'll be there. I think I'll be sending somebody from Root FM will be there.
Okay,
Because
all
if
right.
I go down there, they're not gonna like what I'm gonna do.
Well, that's what we want. We want you. We don't want them to like what you're gonna do. So we want you to go down there and deal with it. Because
Because
what we can't have people just sit down and take up the seats and then not say anything and then clap and then walk away and take photographs with them and then that's it.
Jeffrey,
yes,
Jeffrey,
yes.
the driving so long from Crossroads, you got to do on the conference center in a boss. You can't go in,
It's
but
not
you understand why
it's
you're
not
going
the
to step
conference center. It be the Montego Bay conference center, I was told.
Okay.
I think they're gonna have some Zoom thing doing, Sir Herb?
Yeah, repeat that.
If
For the
with the diaspora conference they're gonna have in Montego Bay
Yeah,
this year in June, are they gonna have some Zoom questioning and everything like that? When the PM give a speech?
that's what they say they're going to be doing. But this to me I am not sure if it's the first time in Montego Bay, and I anticipate that a lot of people just for vacationing purposes would want to attend. But look, it's very difficult to get your questions answered while you're sitting there in the audience. So I don't know how they're going to add Zoom questions to it because that means they're going to limit the audience questions that they have. You know, the government people who show up have never spent enough time to answer a lot of questions, and that's not good.
And then they'll do what they did with the recent with the PM's recent visit here, where it's like they kind of cherry pick the people that want to ask questions.
I was
So
watching it, yes.
yeah, so people like me wouldn't get to ask a question because the question I'm going to ask is they're not going to be able to answer, and so they don't want people like me asking questions in those forums. So I don't know if it's going to be open to Zoom questions. I don't know, but I won't be there. But you certainly, sir, you should be there.
I'll try and make it. I'll
Marcel,
try and make it.
send me number in the chat there. No, if you send me your drive, you can't send me yours.
No,
Jeffrey,
I'll send it to you.
Send it to me,
Jeffrey,
because I want to link him. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'll
yeah.
send it to you.
Yeah,
yeah,
man.
man. Jeffrey will send it to you.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
Um,
man.
but
Right.
I must say this though, it's been a pleasure talking to you guys, and there's hope. There's some serious hope. I really, really, really feel refreshed tonight to know that my fellow Jamaicans have interest in our beloved Jamaica and is willing to make some sacrifices. Because when Jeffrey told me that a former FBI agent was coming on, I said, well, him now go put on in camera, but him go talk, you know. But but you know, you even have your mutton for your mouth can or something.
You catch me. You catch me.
Yeah, man. So I see there's hope. I see there's hope. I have a cousin that she's living here in Jamaica now. She's very active in the diaspora. She actually started a reading program in Trenchtown, and she was there for 19 plus years. When she first got there, them want to kill her with a woman you come from, and now when she walked down there, I don't even think the queen get the attention where she get, or even the prince when they went down Trenchtown get the attention where she get. Everybody from Crevice and Corner agreed to her. A lady named Lorna Stanley, my cousin. You understand me?
Mm.
And she has done some serious and effective work in Trenchtown and empowered a lot of people. She's now in St. Mary doing a strong women of St. Mary. And it's going leap and bounds. And she did a
Yes.
strong woman in Trenchtown too. But
Yes.
young and old that couldn't read. And they're reading now and they're some of them even gone to college since learning to read and in various areas of work in Jamaica, and some have gone overseas making great impact. We
Good.
need more people to do that sort of transition with our people that have fallen through the cracks or don't have the capability to go to school, much as complete school. Every money she gets, she spend it on people. She was a journalist in Florida, and when she pack up them, say she mad. And
Mm.
that's something even hide her passport, and she still found her way here. You
Wilfred,
understand me?
let me tell you something. I've said it over and over again. If they ask me to come help, I'll do it for free. And if they insist on paying me, I'll take the money and make it into a scholarship for some at-risk children. That's how I feel about Jamaica, because and I know that it can change. It can change. It just take people like us, people who are determined, people who are courageous, people who just not care. You have to have a sense of wild abandonment, when you deal with stuff like this, because some of them people you can't deal with them in a logical way. You just have to just kick down the door and go in and just do what you have to do, and that's it. But look, there is hope, like you said, and that hope is us, and we just have to make it happen. And I just hope that going forward we have more conversations like this, but
Yes.
also we have conversations with those people, and we are not only that, we educate the populace, because they need to understand that what we're fighting for is for them. We're fighting for them, because my life, most of my life I've lived already. So what I want to do now is pass on my experience so that it can be a better place in view of Vision 2030. But Vision 2030 shouldn't just be Vision 2030, it should be Vision Jamaica. So
Indeed. Indeed. So Herb, your final say before we go, sir.
Yes, it's been a pleasure. Um, Blessings to you and our panel and all your listeners. And the only thing I could say at this point is that with the diaspora, everybody is well intentioned, but as usual, there are too many
Political connected.
splits, and there's not enough coordination. And when we call out, we have leaders in the community in New York State who are police officers, head of detectives, and deputy chief of police in New York State, Jamaicans. We have others in different cities like Oakland, California. And what we need to do is, if we can get that expertise to advise us on how to approach the individual technical deficiencies that exist in Jamaica. And if we have the funding, we can then go down and address answers. But I'm afraid we need more than just funding for us. We may have to do funding for some other projects that will help our police officers on the island, right? That will give them incentives to want to do the job to the best of their abilities. And until we can do that, until maybe we find somebody who's a millionaire want to put some money out in a foundation that will support those officers. We are just at a loss right now, like Don Quixote striking at the windmill. So my thing is, we can't give up hope, and we have to keep trying.
Thank
But
you.
it's been a pleasure tonight speaking with everyone.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We the people. We the people. We the people. We need a government of the people, for the people, and by the people. Not a government of the favored few. Not a government of the well-connected, but a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And I'm saying this to every single politician in Jamaica. Some of them I know, some of them I don't know. It is time for us, if you truly love Jamaica, if you truly love the country we call Jamaica, then you all can come together. Whether it be PNP or JLP, we all can come together. Put hands and hearts together, fight the corruption, fight the crime pandemic in our country, and stop playing politics with the Jamaican people life. If you truly love the people of Jamaica, then stop making us poor. Stop making our lives a threat to criminals. If you truly love the people of Jamaica, then do something. And every 5 years you come with some promises and nothing is being done. And every 5 years you come with some hullabaloo and the people that jump up and say, yeah. This is the time. This is the moment. The people of our country need us. And if you truly love our people, Mr. Prime Minister, Mr. Opposition Leader, if you truly love the Jamaican people, then do something about the crime situation in our country. Do something about the unattached youths in our country who decide to pick up guns and scamming. You all have the power to do it. Yes, we have the power. But everything lies with you all. Make legislations that will uplift the people of Jamaica. I say thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. Thanks to Mr. Wilfred Rattigan, former FBI agent, attorney at law. Mr. Marcel Clark, chairman of the St. Thomas Crime Prevention Unit. And Sir Herb. Thank you all very much for coming on. Until the next time you hear my voice again, may God bless Jamaica. May God bless you all. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.